Internet, and welcome to the
Saturated Industries podcast.
Saturated Industry Podcast featuring me, Danny,
And me, Steve.
and we're going to talk about Captain America: Civil War.
So settle in.
Get yourself a snack.
Get comfortable. This is probably going to be a long one.
Okay, so before we go into it, Steve, whose side are you on?
Oh, it's a tough choice.
I know, but that's why we're here.
Especially because, holy shit, after we watched this film just now, and then we went back to the argument scene.
Yeah.
We watched that argument scene twice over, and both times it was both sides are making some really, really good points.
Mm-hmm.
But probably I would come down on the side of Tony.
I was not surprised, obviously. And I probably going to have to come down on the side of Cap, but with some reservations. I think Cap does some properly over-the-line stuff here, like some unconscionable stuff that were there a way for him to step back and get some perspective on his actions, because the movie is very mile a minute, like it all happens.
Yeah, it's very tense.
So if he had some time for quiet contemplation, I think maybe even Cap would be forced to admit, and I guess he sort of does in his letter to Tony at the end, that he's in the wrong here. But yeah, so I just wanted to figure out where we were getting off, because that's going to be, for all the 5 or 6 people listening to this, you're all going to have your own, whose side you come down on. So that's where we're coming from. This voice, Cap. That voice,
my voice, Tony.
Okay. So, I like that. So the cold open is we see what Bucky's life was before the events of Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So basically, every series of years, every 10 years or so,
whenever he was required
by Hydra, he would be woken up, which was torture apparently, he's screaming in this machine thing there.
Yeah, they scramble his brain,
and then they would speak a series of words and he would become completely compliant. Basically he's a Manchurian candidate, he's a sleeper.
Yeah.
And they would give him his mission and he would go and do it, and he would come back and they would put him back on ice, and that was his whole life for the last 70 years. So that's something that I think it's important to bear in mind, because it's going to matter. Nobody sees that part of it except for Cap, because Cap has been on ice for the last 70 years.
Yeah.
So and of course because Bucky's his best friend, but also because nobody has the kind of perspective that Cap and Bucky do. They even point out later in the movie that they are both 100 years old.
Yeah, that they are both men out of time.
Yeah.
Which is an important part of Cap's whole trilogy.
And so nobody wants to hear it. Nobody listens to Cap when he's saying it. But I think it's important, for the sake of this story, to remember that everything Bucky did up until the events of the Winter Soldier, first of all, he was brainwashed and he was forced to do it, and he was in incredible pain at all times.
Yeah.
And then his memory was scrambled and he forgot everything about himself.
Yeah.
And he lives with that threat hanging over him at all times.
Yeah.
And it comes to fruition when Zemo actually finds the words and speaks them to him.
And more importantly, he remembers
each murder,
all of the things he's done.
If he's out of his stasis or whatever for long enough, his memories do come back to him. And
out of the brain scrambling.
If it's been too long since his last brain scrambling, he actually remembers each of the people that he's killed. And he had no agency in the killings, but he was there as first person.
So
he was there and he killed
him.
them himself, and he did it. And that's something that, because Tony, kind of fit a peak, is do you even remember that? Yeah, I remember them all. That's actually pretty. Again, it's that Marvel pace of everything just flows right by you, but that's something to bear in mind.
This is a dense movie.
Yeah.
The pace is breakneck the entire way through.
Yeah.
But there is so much in this movie.
So yeah, that's how it opens. I want to say that I liked that we get to see Bucky's side of things first, because this is a movie entirely about perspectives. It's about everybody's side of things, and it was a good choice. I think it was the best choice to have Bucky's side of things first. So
it's a good way to open it, especially because it's called back more times throughout the films, especially with the details that were left out that we find out as we go along,
and we get it from sort of different angles. Different stuff, the salient details of it. Do you remember red herrings? Do you remember that was a thing in movies, that movies would bury red herrings? And I feel that's not been in my adulthood, red herrings haven't really been a big part of movies, but say like the movies I would have watched when I was a kid, so like my dad's generation of movies, I feel like that was a more commonly used movie trope. Yeah. But this movie, by the way, spoiler warning on all of our podcasts, because I don't give a fuck. There's just too much to talk about to keep track of and to not actually mention the things. But there's a huge red herring in this thing, and that every time we go back to the Bucky in 1991 scene, it looks like he just runs a random car that we assume is like S.H.I.E.L.D. agents off the road and steals the super soldier serum from their trunk and leaves. Yeah. But that's not the entire story, and we don't find that out until the end. And most of the actions taken by most of the good guy characters in the story are on this basis that they think that Zemo's plan is to find the super soldiers that were created using that super soldier serum
and use them.
And that would mean there would be 5 more Buckys running around, which nobody wants.
Yeah.
But that's not Zemo's plan. Zemo's plan is far simpler. It's almost nothing. Like, it's the smallest possible nudge is all he wants to give them. But anyway, we're jumping way ahead of ourselves.
Like a complicated but small nudge.
Complicated. Well, okay. So yeah, I just wanted to. Yeah. I like that cold open. It's a good cold open. Yeah. And then we go to the warm open.
Lagos,
Nigeria. They're the Avengers that we met at the end of Ultron.
Yeah.
So the guys who
new Avengers.
The guys who opted in are on a mission to stop somebody from, they think, stealing from a police station. Then it turns out
hitting a police station for something.
For weapons, I think. Yeah. There's a guy who's been hitting. There's a guy who's been stealing guns from all over.
They're after Rumlow.
Yeah, they're after Rumlow. Do they know it's Rumlow? Yeah. Okay. But it turns out he's actually going down the street to like a biochemical weapons lab.
The Center for Infectious Diseases.
So scary.
Yeah.
And this is another. So number one, this is a Russo brothers movie again, and so the action is unbelievable. Like from the open, he like rams a dump truck into the guard box place and just like smashes the entire thing to pieces, and both of his trucks come in like ready to go. It's another
Falcon drops Cap out of the sky
and he dive bombs a guy with his shield, and the guy gets crushed.
The action throughout this entire movie is so visceral.
Yeah, it's kinetic as fuck. Everybody is bouncing around like a pinball. But what I really liked about this scene was, again, it is a team of competent Hydra villains. Now, obviously, Cap and his guys win, but just barely. You know,
just barely,
and it's always just barely. And that's like, that's what that's what makes me really excited about the Infinity Brothers being directed by Russo. The Infinity Wars being directed by the Russo brothers, because even though Cap has the initiative here, and he's definitely in a better footing than he was in Winter Soldier going up against these guys. Still, they've thought of everything, you know. Like when as soon as Cap pokes his head out, they've got this like grenade launcher thing to shoot at him.
Yeah,
which
it's like,
they know
like a mini artillery cannon. Almost.
Yeah,
and this is a great like point to Vision's like everything's escalating.
Yes, exactly.
Because they know the Avengers are going to show up, so they have to be prepared for the Avengers, and so they have a truck with a cannon on the top of it, because Captain America's going to show up, I gotta shoot him. Yeah. We need something to take him out.
And like, we can't get through his shield, but we can definitely knock him back. And they like knock him out of a window, and he like clacks the thing on the way down, spins over and smashes down. Like, it's enough. It slows him down. They almost get away. And they get far enough away that they get to like enact their shell game mini plan, which was like, first of all, Rumlow was on a suicide mission from the start, which is really cool. They get to like the market in Lagos, and he's like, you go this way, you go that way, and I'll like get to the airfield. And they're like, where will we meet you? It's like, you're not going to meet me.
Yeah.
And it's like, and we don't know it yet, but he has a bomb vest on, and he fully intends to just get Cap into a fight and get close enough to trigger the bomb vest.
Yep.
Because I assume he probably knows he can't kill him. He gives it a shot, obviously, because you would.
Yeah, you would.
But
and he makes like a good go at it. He like figures out a way to get rid of Cap's shield, which is a huge advantage for Cap.
Yeah.
And he's got these massive like
power fists.
Yeah, like Fallout power fists with blades coming out of them.
Yeah, which he saves, which is really clever. Like he waits until Cap has kind of figured out a way to deal with the fists, and then suddenly a blade comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and the way he deals with Cap's shield is perfect. It's a bomb. It's a magnetic bomb. He just throws it at Cap, and Cap's like, oh no.
Yeah, and he has to. Well, he throws it at Cap in amongst a crowd of people.
Yeah.
So Cap is forced to toss the shield because otherwise the people will get hurt. But the point is, like, I love when the villains are competent. They don't have to win, obviously. That would be dumb if it was a movie about heroes where the villains win. But they have to
they have to be a threat.
They have to be enough of a threat that the heroes earn their win.
Yeah.
You know, Cap has to earn this win, and even then, it's like a bitter pill because Scarlet Witch stops the bomb vest from going off, but doesn't really know what else to do and throws it up in the air and kills everybody on a certain floor of this building. Now,
including some Wakandans.
Who happen to be doing
everyone on the ground.
She saved everyone on the ground.
I know.
Like, and there was loads of people on the ground. Like, just a quick cursory glance around them. This is like a bustling market, which for some reason didn't clear out when these superheroes started fighting. But whatever. She saves all of those people and kills, I don't know, it sounded like there was like 20-ish people up there.
Like 11 Wakandans and some other people as well.
People who work on
the Wakandans are like the big point because it introduces Wakanda later.
Yeah, but I just feel like she made the best choice given the circumstances. And I understand that the circumstances were themselves instigated by Captain America.
Yeah.
Exerting his own... Unilateral authority here. Which is, of course, another important point for the movie. But given that they were trying to stop a known terrorist from acquiring a biological agent, and there didn't seem to be... It's not like... Had they like gone in and they were like trying to hem Rumlow or whatever, and then suddenly the insert agency, Interpol, CIA, suddenly some other agency who had been monitoring the situation shows up and goes...
You're ruining everything.
We've been undercover for 6 months. We're doing this job. No, nobody seems to have known about what was going on here. Yeah. So he would have just gotten away with whatever this is. I mean, it's not really important what it is.
Yeah, it's a MacGuffin.
It's enough that like there's a tiny vial of it, and at one point when every time Black Widow has a gun on one of them, the other guy goes, if you don't drop that gun, I'm going to drop this. And that's enough of a threat. So you would assume he drops that, everyone in this market's dead. Yeah,
it looks like maybe it's some infected blood or something like that. It's like a small yellow vial with a red liquid right in the centre.
So it's... I definitely understand the point to be made here, and like William Hurt comes, and I love that they chose William Hurt to be the guy that comes to them with the kind of reasonable proposal. Like I really think that the Sokovia Accords are an eminently reasonable response to the Avengers.
Yeah, which is why I'm down on it. Like,
I completely...
Like, that's the most sense to me. It's like, you guys are maniacs.
Yeah.
You need some oversight.
Yeah. No, it's true. Like, and we could get to the end of the podcast and I'll be like, actually, you know, Tony's right. The problem is, like, Tony does not behave in a responsible manner at all. No, but I mean, Tony, I understand that the actual authority behind the Sokovia Accords is the UN and William Hurt, but Tony is the agent, he's the guy who's trying to bring Cap in line.
Yeah.
So he's the lens through which I'm seeing the Sokovia Accords. And so while they are reasonable, and I can totally understand, like if all of this stuff that happened in the MCU happened in our world, I would expect the UN to do something about these people. Like, I completely understand. But I've jumped ahead from what we were doing. Yeah, so while it is technically Cap's fault that they got into a situation where Scarlet Witch was forced to choose between a market full of people or the 12th floor of this building, I still think the kind of the uproar about her is a little overstated.
Yeah, I think it's sort of more like the straw that breaks the camel back, because they've been because
it is called the Sokovia Accords.
It's been a series of events, and this is the final straw.
Yeah,
but I do have like another point that shows that maybe they're not. They are our heroes, and they're doing the best job they can, but they're also sort of not maybe doing the best job that could be done, because they're doing on the job training.
Right, yeah.
With Wanda. They're like,
who has the power to manipulate reality.
Yeah, it's like, you gotta, be watching over your shoulder, and you miss this, you miss these guys over here. Why didn't they do on-the-job training with her?
That's true, yeah.
She should be confident before she goes out in the field.
That's very true. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. So that there needs to be some standardization.
Yeah,
for sure. Like, at a minimum, if they're not going to accept oversight, they need to at least standardize their practices.
Yeah.
So that anybody who gets the official title of Avenger, which seems to be omnipotent authority the world over, you got to at least
some minimum
standard. Yeah, you got to at least earn that. You got to have like a fucking entrance exam.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Because she could have just thrown Rumlow instead of that way, like towards the building, up and away from the building, and then everything would be fine.
Yeah. And so they need like a kind of X-Mansion danger room where they can practice like
exactly.
Yeah, what if X then Y kind of situations. Yeah, for sure. I agree. And then we get, in what's become kind of rote for Marvel movies, at least the last like 5 or 6 that I can think of, there's another open. So there's kind of
another
introduction.
There are so many characters now that they sort of all need their own little mini introductions.
So it's Bucky, Cap, and now Iron Man, and we get a sort of what we think is a flashback to Tony's past, where his last conversation with his parents. We don't know that, but we're told it afterwards.
We're told it during, just at the end of the scene, like it sort of subverts what the scene is, and his mother's like, you have to say something because you know this is the last time you're going to see us together. And then young Tony goes, I love you, Dad, I know you tried the best you could.
Okay.
So it sort of subverts it just before we realise that Tony's standing in the back.
And he's doing, I guess it's kind of like a commencement address or one of those kind of, he's visiting MIT.
He's gone to MIT to tell them all about the September Foundation grant, where he's basically giving every student in MIT
he's funding all of their projects. So Tony starts off this, and then so while he's doing the speech to them to let them know that he's giving them all of his money, there's like a line break, and then it says, and now I want to introduce Pepper Potts, and Pepper's not there. So he doesn't say those words, and we can immediately infer, so Pepper's not there, which means once again him and Pepper are broken up.
So once again, as is tradition with Tony and Pepper,
off screen,
things have happened off screen, and we only get to see mostly just Tony's reaction to it, where he's not dealing with it well.
Yeah, so Tony's heartbroken from the start. Then he leaves the stage and he goes, I guess he's going to go get in an elevator.
Yeah, he says he's going to the bathroom, and then he's just going to leave. He's just going to peace out.
Yeah, and so he's gone to an elevator where there's a woman standing there, but the elevator button hasn't been clicked, and Tony immediately switches into paranoid mode, although he's probably always in paranoid mode, and thinks that she's here to do something. So she, grabs her hand, and all that is to illustrate.
He's kind of scared right now.
Yeah, so she starts talking. It's kind of in general terms about him and rich people, and
she makes an alluding statement to his finishing line from the speech. Oh, you just gotta break a few eggs, or it doesn't matter how many eggs you break on the way, something like that.
And then reaches into her purse, and he thinks gun, and stops him. And then so she basically gives him a guilt trip speech, saying that my son was in the Peace Corps, happened to be in Sokovia at the time when the whole Sokovia thing went down, and he got killed. I blame you. You're a murderer. You murdered my son. Gives him a picture of the son. Leaves. So he's heartbroken and now guilt-ridden. Yeah. And this is the headspace he's in when asked to make a decision about the Sokovia Accords. Yeah. So those are probably the top 2 worst headspaces to be in to make any kind of important decision.
Yeah, he's not thinking straight right now.
And
he still seems, even now, even after everything, he still seems a bit shaken up after all of the events he's been through. He's still not stable.
Yeah. But Tony's such a fucking drama queen. I'm going to jump ahead a bit and then jump back, because I need to talk about the argument scene. Mm-hmm. So William Hurt's delivered a speech and then left and said, you guys need to talk about this. And Tony, first of all, makes a point about there's being coffee grounds in the sink, just reminding everyone in the room at the top of his speech that I pay for this.
I pay for everything.
My house, you just live here. And then tosses down his hollow phone thing that why does he even have a physical device anymore? He seems to be able to just generate holograms at will. But anyway, he goes on this kind of, that's the guy who we killed while we were kicking ass. Yeah. So once again, Tony completely misses the point. This did not happen because the Avengers kicked ass saving Sokovia. This happened because you created Ultron. Twice! Not once, twice. You created 2 Ultrons. Yeah. You created Ultron, and then when given the exact same set of circumstances again, you opted to once again create Ultron, and ended up creating something possibly far worse. Vision, who has no connection to the human race whatsoever, seems altruistic at the moment because he doesn't have a better idea, but we don't know what's going to happen with that guy, and he has a fucking Infinity Stone in his head. Yes. And you have given him an indestructible body.
My watching of this film this time, I realised how out of place Vision feels at the end of it. Yeah. He's having a personal crisis of who am I? What have I done? What am I trying to do? Even though it's not really explained or really seen, it's not a huge acting scene. It's just him sitting there twisting a chess piece. But by the end of this film, he's almost broken from what he's done.
Because he doesn't really, like he said, he was born yesterday. He doesn't really have a full comprehension of what's, he didn't grow up here. You know, he doesn't have a full comprehension of what's going on. All he knows is the information that he has gathered so far. Yeah. Which he, you know, when it comes to that scene, he's very detached. You know, he just analyzes the information very unemotionally, very objectively, and then presents them with a kind of he even calls it an equation.
I have an
equation, and then just sort of says, you know, here's X and the result is Y. So if we could introduce a Z, that might, you know, augment the Y. Anyway, I just wanted to say, because it's relevant to his like being heartbroken and guilt-ridden. He completely misses the point. Like I don't think she kind of, the way she says it to him makes it sound like you dropped a city on him. Yeah. Which that's not fair. Like, I don't think that's accurate. Like,
the city was going to get dropped either way.
Yeah, like they did their best. They were trying to save everyone, and
they saved a lot of people.
Yeah,
but it is that personal cost, because they can't save everyone.
And I just think, even though she didn't say it that way, and I guess maybe the world at large doesn't know about Ultron being a creation of Tony Stark.
Probably not at all.
I think that Tony presents it the wrong way to the Avengers, because later in the movie he says, and then I created Ultron, my fault. Like, he says it to Cap at one point, like, this happened, or like New York happened, then Sokovia happened, I created Ultron, my fault. He takes it on board, but then, like, glibly, you know, it's flippant.
But if he had actually accepted the blame or the responsibility, which he can't do because he's fucking Tony Stark.
He just lives in perpetual denial.
Yeah. Well, I think even at some point someone says something about letting his ego calm down for a second and look.
Or can you not get out of the way of your ego? Or like, it's Black Widow says something like, "Could you leave your ego out of this for like 10 seconds?"
Just like a second.
Yeah. But yeah. It's just Tony. Like he just refuses to see the reality of the situation. And that's something I wanted to point out.
Yeah, but we do get that Secretary of State Ross.
Yeah. So William Hurt has the best off-screen character arc in the entire MCU, because he goes from, if you don't remember, William Hurt is Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. He's the guy who spent the Incredible Hulk chasing the Incredible Hulk. And
because he wants to make more Hulks.
Yeah, because he wants to, like, chase him down, take his blood, and make more Hulks out of him. And sort of seems to come around at the end of it, when, while Betty's there anyway, Hulk is able to display a modicum of restraint, like, in self-control. And he comes to realise that the Hulk isn't just a monster, that Bruce is in there. Yeah. And that's sort of it for him, and then the movie's over.
And then the next time we see him, he's drinking.
Oh yeah,
at the end. Was it the end of Iron Man or something, or the end of?
It's the end of Hulk. Iron Man comes to him at the end of Hulk.
Iron Man comes to him at the end of Hulk. He sort of like lost, I guess, his position or whatever. And then in this movie, he's a completely different person.
Yeah, he's Secretary of State. He's calm. He's centered. Yeah, and he's coming to them like kind of reasonably, like kind of like as a diplomat. He's sort of, listen. There are some people who would consider you heroes, and there are some people who would consider you vigilantes. But what we can all agree on is that you are dangerous. What you use to protect people and save people are powers, dangerous powers. Yeah. And right now, you don't know where Thor or Hulk are, the strongest Avengers. You don't know where they are. And my background is the military. I used to be a general. If I misplace some nuclear weapons, you better fucking believe there would be all kinds of people jumping down my throat about that. Yeah. So I don't think it's unreasonable to expect you, the most objectively powerful people in the world right now, if you want to remain members of our society, to join the club. You know, that's all we want you to do. We have a club, it's called the United Nations. It's where we all agree on sort of how we want to run the world and what rights everybody should have, and we think that you should accede to our authority. Yeah. And as the kind of Secretary of State of America, I'm delivering this to you a couple of days before we vote on it, just so you guys can think about it first. Yeah. Which he didn't have to do. This is a law. This is the law being passed by the United Nations. They don't even have to. They don't have to include the Avengers in the process. They could have just come to them a week from now and said, "Listen, here's a new law.
If you want to keep doing what you're doing, you got to sign. Otherwise, retire."
Yeah. So he comes to them early just to let them know it's coming down the pipe.
like an olive branch.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And he, again, in the same way that, like, we said about him in Incredible Hulk, he really elevates the Incredible Hulk because he takes what could have just been a sort of barnstorming general shoot everything you have at him kind of character and gives him a lot of depth and like gives him that. What we were saying about him was he was sort of he's the old guard, he's the previous generation of warfare, and he's coming up against these kind of enhanced individuals, and it's
just doesn't know what to do.
It's so far out of his wheelhouse that he feels left behind. And now it seems that instead of, though he was drowning his sorrows at the end of his movie, it seems that in the interim he's sort of accepted the new world order and figured out a way to make himself useful in it.
Come to terms with it, and now is sort of ahead of the curve. And is leading the way almost.
But also, while he's delivering his news/ultimatum to the Avengers, he has this movie playing in the background, which like there's just a map of the world with all of the places where the Avengers have been active, and every time he like points to one, it shows some images from when they did stuff in that place.
So like New York, Sokovia.
And I'm wondering, that means that somebody's job in the UN or the White House or whatever, their job was to create like guilttrip.avi.
I need a guilt trip presentation
that I can bring to the Avengers. So someone's job is literally just go through all the news footage and like edit together a guilt trip.move that he can give to Ross to show to the Avengers. That's just fun. I would love to have seen the credits for that particular. What is it about Hydra that makes them so ferociously loyal? So like that happens, right? And then before they have the conversation, it cuts.
Well, they have a little discussion first. They say a couple of things to each other, but then it cuts to the Hydra. It
cuts to Daniel Bruhl, really clever. Like they could have had the Zemo character show up at this guy's house, knock on the door, guy answers the door, and he shoots him or whatever, or just like barges his way in, or just barges his way in the first place, doesn't knock on the door at all. But they have this clever little Zemo's canny, you know, like he recognizes that the guy's kind of a hermit and doesn't trust anybody outside, so he crashes into his car and puts him into a no-win scenario. Like either you open the door and we deal with this together, or I call the police, and then you got even bigger problems because you don't want anybody knowing you're here.
He, like you were saying earlier about villains being competent, Zemo is a competent villain. He is really good at manipulating situations, which is how he gets through his whole plan.
I love Zemo, and I love Daniel Bruhl in particular, and I'm so happy that he survived. He survived.
Oh my god, he's alive.
He didn't have a vibranium suit, he didn't have a heart-shaped flower, he literally is just a human being who was pretty clever, seemed to have some military training or whatever.
He was part of the Sokovia Intelligence Agency. And
he survived. He actually made it through an entire Marvel movie as a villain, as a really good villain, an interesting villain.
Whose plan sort of works.
I would argue it completely works, 100%. It works better than he expected, because he survived. He fully intended either I'm going to be killed by like Black Panther or Iron Man or whatever, or I'm going to shoot myself. But I love Daniel Bruhl. I'm so glad he's alive. But just in this particular scene, what is it about Hydra that engenders such ferocious loyalty?
That I don't know. I guess people really believe in their ideology.
If they're gonna, it's like we said with the Winter Soldier, that maybe it wasn't always going to be Hydra, but then someone came down and said, no, it's got to be Hydra. Hydra's the bad guy. And so Hydra has persistently been in the MCU now since pretty much the start. And not even just in Captain America movies, Hydra's kind of everywhere.
Hydra's the pervasive villain.
So if they're gonna be your go-to, like if they're gonna be kind of the always in the background bad guy, then I need to know more about Hydra. The only thing we've seen, the only kind of exposure we've had to Hydra outside of them going up against heroes is the kind of way over the top, campy almost World War II Hydra, led by Red Skull. What was his name? Schmidt, Johann Schmidt. Where they're just caricatures. Like they're not even people. Like they always have the masks and the big leather trench coats.
Like the dual Nazi salute.
And it's they're essentially just super Nazis, and that's fine for a pulp movie about like World War II. But if they're going to be your go-to, I need to know why this guy who has, I assume, been out of Hydra for decades at this point, like the Winter Soldier project.
Or well, he definitely went into hiding, but he kept all of his Hydra documentation, I guess, just in case.
Yeah, I don't know. I just.
But it is a good question. Where does this loyalty come from? Why are like every single Hydra agent ferociously loyal to the bitter end?
And they, suicide capsules and everything.
Yeah, and it's always at the very end. It's just Hail Hydra.
Hail Hydra.
But no real explanation as to why.
I would just love to see a Hydra meeting, or maybe even just see, like, do you know what the Black Widow movie should be? She infiltrates Hydra.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
And goes through the entire recruitment process of, like, the kind of cult indoctrination that there must be, that because they must do something to these people to engender this kind of loyalty.
Speaking of Hydra agents, we might get, I don't think we'll really get it, but we might get it in Deadpool, because when at the fight scene at the end of Deadpool, when he nearly kills a guy and goes like, Bob?
Oh yeah.
In the comics, Deadpool has a friend who's Bob the Hydra agent.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Cool.
And in the comics, the Hydra agents wear like neon green and yellow suits that look ridiculous.
Cool, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's like he could be Bob the Hydra agent and might be in Deadpool 2 because he survived Deadpool 1.
That'd be awesome. I wonder, is there, like, can they have Hydra or whatever? Is that a...
Well, I mean, they fought next to a helicarrier at the end of Deadpool 1. Maybe one of the Triskelion helicarriers. I think, isn't, whatchamacallit, Professor X's place somewhere around that area anyway?
Like Rochester, New York.
Okay.
It's like upstate. It's
New York.
It's like the rural part of New York.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my only question about the scene. I'm gonna so this is the start of Zemo's plan, but I would prefer, if you're cool with it, we're gonna leave Zemo's plan till the end of the movie.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Because most of the actual action doesn't really involve him, and he just sort of flits in and out, triggering things.
Yeah. I've got a question about it leads sort of from the Accords, like, and when Ross brings it up, saying that they break like the sovereign boundaries of countries, like at will or whatever. Is Captain America still part of the American military? Is he still considered an American soldier?
I think he would have been... Or
was the fact that he declared KIA, or at least MIA? In
terms of him being a member of the army, he would have been declared KIA and honourably discharged.
Okay.
That's officially. But then, I guess it would come down to what S.H.I.E.L.D. was, where they're...
Yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. was sort of extra-governmental.
So then, still no. And then also S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone now. And since S.H.I.E.L.D. exploded... No, he's private, because he works for Tony. Tony runs the Avengers Initiative, and Cap leads the Avengers. Yeah. So, I would say he's a private citizen.
Yeah, because if he was still, or if even if other countries consider him still part of the American military, I could see them having a big problem with America when they're like, one of your soldiers just came into our country and blew up a building.
Yeah, for sure. No, there's like in the airport fight, which is in Germany. Leipzig.
Yeah.
They
destroy the airport.
They destroy the airport. They destroy so many planes. Yeah. There's a part where Scarlet Witch is just flicking people's cars out of the multi-story on top of Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like, they belong to people. Those are people's cars. They cost upwards of 10 grand,
Tony's going to pay for them all.
Well, okay, I guess Tony's going to cover all that. But it's just, it's weird to me that they chose...
Well, maybe Tony doesn't even have to anymore. Maybe because he's sanctioned by the Accords, so maybe the UN has to foot the bill. Because they're like, you got to stop these guys. Go here and do it. So, like, maybe in the Accords, the UN's like, we'll pay for the damages as long as everyone gets out, and you're acting under orders.
Okay, it's still it's weird to me that there's so much collateral damage, but that Scarlet Witch, with no compunction, just starts destroying property.
Yeah.
When her whole all we know about her so far is the Ultron story, which is that we were at home, and then your weapons destroyed our home, and we had to stare at one of them for ages.
Yeah.
And then later in the movie, her city once again is destroyed by the Avengers.
Yeah.
And here she is, an Avenger in someone else's city, destroying their airport and all these people's cars. You know?
Why didn't she just rip Tony's suit apart? I mean, I know why, because then Tony wouldn't have a suit for the rest of the movie.
I mean, we're going to have to, the stakes in that fight are smoke and mirrors. Like, we'll get into it when we get there, but like, there's a lot of instant fight finishers that nobody really thinks to use conveniently.
Yeah.
But let's try and I think this will go better if we try and
work through it. So next would be then the
big argument scene. So Tony is such a fucking drama queen. He throws down his
he slaps the Avengers in the face the way he's been slapped in the face with the personal cost.
Yeah,
this is of what we do.
It's like, we dropped a building on his head while we were kicking ass. It's so, and then he sort of walks around from behind his kitchen island and goes, "There's no argument here. We need to be put in check."
Yeah.
And every time Tony uses the word "we," in my head it's just bouncing around. I. Like, you need to be put in check, Tony.
Yeah.
He's the epitome of hypocrisy, and he doesn't see it
because it's his ego. He can't let him see it.
But having said that, Tony basically browbeats everybody with weak information at best. I'm not going to say false. Nothing he says is technically untrue.
Yeah.
But flimsy,
uncompelling.
Yeah. But Steve is exactly what Rhodey said he was. Dangerously arrogant.
Yeah. Rhodey's the one who's at least on this watching, swayed me to Cap's side.
To Tony's side.
Or to Tony's side, yeah. Because I do sit on the fence, but then Rhodey made those good points. We need oversight. You are insane. We can't make all of these decisions ourselves. And then Cap is just but we have to, because we're the best at this.
But they're basically saying that it's not the fucking World Security Council. It's not
SHIELD. It's not Hydra.
It's the United Nations. It's 177 countries. It's the world. Is saying that they want a say in where we go and what we do.
Yeah.
And Cap's argument is that no matter who it is, so I assume it'll be representatives of probably not 177 countries, but probably close to the UN Security Council, which is the most powerful 8 or so countries.
Yeah.
Probably something along those lines. They would come up with some kind of Avengers subcommittee in the United Nations who would make the decisions on
where to go,
where they can go, and what they can do. And Cap's argument is that no matter, it doesn't matter if it's the United Nations. It's people, and people have agendas, and agendas can change.
Yeah.
And
even if everything is good now, we don't know where it will go in the future.
Yeah. We don't know if, for example, in the future, one of the top members of the United Nations Security Council will come from a country that elected Donald Trump president, and whose foreign policy is getting scary,
Yeah. Or if, for heaven forbid, Hydra infiltrate some of the top positions in these countries and then take over this Avengers subcommittee, and then go about the world doing their things and be oh no, don't worry about that. We'll send in normal people.
And so basically he's saying that the only moral authority to which he will cede is his own.
Yeah.
And while I completely he's right, not right, but his moral authority is beyond question as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
more than any
us
other
as an audience know that he will always do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so far, over however many movies he's been in, the right thing that he's chosen to do is the right thing in the majority of people's view. But
he's basically saying that the only, in so many words, he's saying the only person fit to tell the Avengers what to do is the Avengers.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think he's wrong, even though by the end of the movie I'd kind of come around to his point of view, is because Tony's on the Avengers.
That is a good point.
He doesn't want anyone else to have a say in how the Avengers conduct themselves, because he thinks that the only people fit to objectively apply the force of the power, their collective power, is them as a unit, to kind of all decide amongst each other. But almost every action they've taken has either been at the behest of Tony, or because Tony did something and they need to clean it up.
Yeah.
And that's it's just a weird gaffe for me. It's probably I assume when he was talking, he left Tony out of the equation, because he's already kind of Tony's already on the other side of this.
Yeah, he knows before anyone else that Tony's on the other side.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's because it's kind of a mirror of the Ultron scene where everybody. So Tony's being confronted by Thor, and he's not taking it seriously. He's actually laughing that he created this monster that's going to go out there and destroy the world. And Cap, and he's trying to bring everyone around to his side and talk about like, hey, do you remember I saved the world by flying a nuke into the thing?
Yeah.
And then Cap speaks, and everybody takes Cap's side.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, Cap, before he even opens his mouth, you can see it on his face. He knows he's already lost this room because of what Tony did. Tony has made everybody feel guilty straight off the bat.
Yeah.
And Cap is trying to be reasonable, but he's allowing Tony to talk over him, and he's not. He's trying to be the polite person, the Cap.
Yeah, you polite bastard.
And it's losing him this fight, whereas every previous fight, it's always worked for him.
Yeah, whenever the quiet man speaks, the room listens.
Yeah, it's not working here, and this is before the Bucky stuff. Like this is just Cap.
He sort of feels responsible for the deaths in Lagos.
Yeah.
So he's sort of reeling there.
So Tony's a fucking drama queen, and then Cap is dangerously arrogant, and then Vision is kind of the voice of reason, even though it's kind of detached alien reason.
Sort of. I have a problem with Vision's logic. He makes the point that, like, it's a good point, that ever since Tony Stark said he was Iron Man, things have been escalating at a faster and faster rate, and that the number of possible world-ending events has skyrocketed. But causation
causation does not equal correlation.
Correlation doesn't equal causation.
Yeah.
But there is something going on there. But like, he should know that you can't just say that this causes this.
Well, I think that comes down to experience. Like, he's got unlimited intelligence and access to knowledge, but no experience in the world.
Yeah.
And I think he does say that there might be a causation. Like he does kind of equivocate a little bit.
Yeah.
But then what happens? So that's kind of, and then like Falcon backs up Cap and Rhodey backs up Tony, obviously. But then Black Widow speaks up, and her role in this is really interesting to me because she is Cap's friend. She's probably in this room his closest friend.
Yep. Which something else happens later, which shows that.
Yeah, and I wondered about this. So basically, she kind of, because her opinion sways Steve here, and it's important to remember that until it becomes an absolute necessity, Steve remains reasonable here.
Yeah,
and like going forward, even after the whole Bucky stuff, there's a second scene where
he nearly signs.
Yeah, he's willing to negotiate on this. He's not stubborn. He's not. He's going to let his ego stay out of this. Like, he's willing to actually listen to reason. And back in this scene, like, she basically says that that we have one hand on the wheel. And then at some other point, she says something along the lines of, it's better that we stay together.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. And
I wondered about that because it kind of flies in the face of everything we know about her character so far. Especially because someone even brings it up to her, like, didn't you just tell like the House of Congress to go fuck itself?
Yeah, in this scene, just there.
Yeah, but the more I think about it, and then the kind of when it does come full circle in the airport fight, I guess I kind of came to the realization, and maybe I'm just making a leap because I really like the Cap and Black Widow relationship.
Yeah,
but that she doesn't want like her new family to break up. Like she lost. She left her old life and joined S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. fell apart. Yeah. Joined the Avengers. Now the Avengers
fell apart because, helped by her actions.
Yeah. And now the Avengers are about to fall apart, and she's clinging on.
Yeah.
And it's probably the first time in her life that she's actually clung to something, and said, no, let's fight for this.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so hard for her to, like, it was just weird to me that she joined up with Tony at all.
Yeah.
Because she hates Tony. And she knows of everybody, like, she's been with Tony since Iron Man 2. Yeah. She knows he is dangerous. She knows he's completely uncontrollable, and that he's completely irresponsible,
Yeah. But maybe that's also a factor leading her to be like, maybe we do need this oversight.
Yeah. Okay.
Because she does, like, what she says there is that she's reading the landscape. She's like dealing with the card she's been dealt, which is, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
We can either do this together, Like we should do this together.
Yeah, better to stay together.
Yeah, and have a little bit of control over it that we can, instead of some of us going this way, some of us going this way, and then later down the line it's not going to be pretty.
So the last thing I wondered in the scene, so Steve has the last important word, and then there's more kind of arguing goes on, and he gets the text.
Yeah.
And I just wanted, basically Steve's final word on it is what we were saying, is he doesn't believe anybody else is capable, or he wouldn't trust anybody else to run the Avengers. But and I know I said at the start of the movie that I was on Cap's side, and it will shift, but at this part I'm not at all, because why does Steve feel like they are entitled to their authority?
It's a good question.
I don't understand, especially Steve, the guy who in the first Avenger said, when asked why he wanted to join the army, do you want to go over there and shoot Nazis? No, I don't like bullies. That's all he said.
Yeah.
And I don't want to fight anyone. I don't want to hurt anyone, and I'm terrified,
Yeah.
But I have
to do my part.
I have to help. This is wrong, and I have to do something about it. And
I guess that's where he feels because he's gone through now where he has to join in, he has to help, and then in the Winter Soldier, it's well, I still have to help. I still have to do what I can to help the world. But then he's found that the people he's working for, aren't good.
Or corrupt, yeah.
Yeah. So even though Shield was filled with Hydra, Shield itself he wasn't squaring with them. So he's come to the realization that he knows what he wants to do. He knows how he's got to help the world, but he can't trust anyone else because they don't see things his way, and that he can't trust them because he trusted Shield at the start, and they turned out to be doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And so now he's come to the realization that I know I have to help because I have these abilities. I
have a responsibility.
I have a responsibility to help out, but I can't let other people point me where they want me to be pointed. I have to help out where I think is the best.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And it's sort of like his arc over the films, where he started out
a company man.
Yeah, a company man doing his part, and now he's realizing that he still has to do his part, but he can't be pointed like a weapon.
Yeah, okay.
Which is sort of the opposite to Tony's arc, where he starts out doing whatever the fuck he wants, and then he realizes sort of that they need more oversight through the arc of his movies, which culminates in the Accords here. So they started out at opposite sides, and they sort of crossed over, and they were
also at opposite sides.
Yeah, and also at opposite sides.
They're on each other's sides.
Yeah.
Except Steve isn't really doing whatever he wants. He's attempting to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe some other part as we're talking about it will jog it for me. But it's strange to me that Steve doesn't see the hypocrisy here.
Yeah.
That he reckons that they should all hold on to this power that they have.
Well, his argument that only we should decide where we go, that wasn't the strong argument that he made for me. The stronger argument that he made was that, yes, this is a good idea, but we don't know where it'll go. He makes the point, what happens if there's somewhere that we think we should go, but they won't let us? Or what happens that thinks somewhere we shouldn't be, and they send us there? Those are the points that really hit at home for me, for his side. Because again, he doesn't want to be used as a weapon, or he finds a situation that he needs to help out in, but can't do anything because of the Accords.
Yeah, I guess there's a sort of, the Avengers are or have become something else. They're kind of a next level.
Yeah.
To an extent, where they no longer really qualify as part of the human race, as part of the kind of greater human whole, because they just don't have much in common with us anymore, and that's something Steve has a kind of head start on everyone else at getting to grips with.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's this scene, more than any other time that I've watched it, because I've always been on Cap's side, but I wanted to be analytical this time and take notes and stuff. And more than any other time I've watched it, I found this scene very troubling, because there's something, it's like Rhodey says, there's something dangerously arrogant about the way Steve is framing this stuff.
Yeah.
But and also they don't take the easy way out in this movie, which I really liked, by having Thunderbolt Ross do something beyond the pale, you know, or having...
Oh yeah, no, the Accords are completely...
They're legit,
they're completely reasonable.
Yeah, and it becomes Tony. Tony's the guy. Tony's the enemy. Tony is... And that's what I meant about Tony being an agent of this change. Like, he's the guy who imprisons Wanda to an extent.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who... Like, it's almost like Tony's taking it further than William Hurt's character wants to take it.
Yeah.
Like, all the Accords are intended to do are legislate
where and when you can go.
Your authority, yeah. Like, just standardize your practices.
Yeah.
But Tony is sort of...
he's not in a good place.
He's trying to install his own nanny state. Like,
yeah. Because, like Tony likes to do, he has to control everything.
Yeah.
And even in the argument scene, he does it by, like, manipulating them with the emotional stuff.
Having said that, though, so what happens then is, at the end of the argument, Steve gets a text telling him that Peggy died in her sleep.
Yeah. And he just says, I have to go, and gets up and leaves.
And there's a sort of overhead shot of him in a stairwell, probably crying, and then it cuts
that's a tough scene.
It's really harsh. But this is where Cap started to win me back over, I suppose, because now he's heartbroken.
Yep.
Now he's grieving, and now he's also dealing with the guilt of, like, no matter how Scarlet Witch feels or doesn't feel about it, he was the leader of the team, and so he takes responsibility for what happened, and as far as he's concerned, those 11 Wakandans are in his conscience.
Yeah.
So he is also heartbroken and guilt-ridden. He's lost the love of his life, and he's done something to feel bad about.
Yeah.
And him and Sharon are weird, right? Like, so his, like...
it's kind of strange, yeah.
His love interest / grandniece of his previous love interest, like, gets up on, like, reveals herself first of all to be Sharon Carter, and then gives the speech that I found out later was actually taken from, like,
something Cap said in the comics.
Well, yeah, but that was taken from I don't know, like a Kabbalah text or something. It's a parable from some old religion. Like, if you believe that what you're doing is right, even the whole world is telling you that you need to move, it's your responsibility to plant yourself like a tree and say no. Yeah. You move.
There's something here that I took from this time watching it that I didn't take from last time, because everyone remembers that part of the saying. You know, if you think you're right, you plant yourself and you don't move. But there's sort of a caveat to this, like, piece of advice. Compromise where you can, and where you can't, don't. Yeah. Which is, like, the first part of it. Yeah. And I think that the compromise where you can bit is sort of important. Where, like, it sort of does almost compromises you. I was like, yes, okay, I'm wrong here. I've saved my friend, let's sign the Accords, and we'll work it out later.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. Basically, they're both... You could argue that in the initial conflict, Tony was coming into it heartbroken, guilt-ridden, and on tilt. Yeah. Whereas Cap was coming at it with a pretty much level head. But now in the second conflict, so immediately afterwards there's a bombing and he has to go save Bucky again, and that's a great scene.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, but in the second instance where it's just him, and because ultimately it doesn't matter how many people in the room.
It's all about
Tony and Cap. And Tony once again, he produces these fucking pens from 1941 from the Lend-Lease deal, which was essentially the deal struck between America and England, bringing America into the war, well, not bringing them into the war, allowing them to send supplies.
one step closer.
One step closer to war. Again, just trying to manipulate the situation, grandstanding, and just trying to, instead of just appealing to Steve Rogers as a human, he tries to appeal to Captain America as the symbol of patriotism. Yeah. Where Steve just wants to talk to a person, and that's all he's trying to do in the scene is talk to Tony. And all Tony will give him is Iron Man, He just refuses to meet him as a person. Yeah. And that's all Steve wants. All he wants is for Tony to recognize...
To be real with him.
Yeah, to recognize... And also to recognize the reality of the situation. Like, at one point, Steve turns to Tony and he's like, I'm not saying it's impossible.
There would have to be
caveats. There would have to be
safeguards or something.
There would have, it's a and then Tony is like, yeah, it's a contract. We can bang it out. We'll work it out. It's just details. And then Tony sort of accidentally lets it slip that Wanda is restricted.
Under house arrest.
Technically, Cap is also under arrest right now because he hurt a lot of Romanian police officers and should definitely go to jail after the events of this movie. But yeah, and so Steve rounds on him and is like how do you not see a problem with that? That, and that's the thing, because Tony nominates himself as the agent of this change. If in order for him to get Cap on board, he needs to show Cap, not like Cap is expecting everything to be peachy fucking keen, but Tony needs to at least recognize the reality of the situation, and Tony is just pure denial. He just, in all aspects of his life, he refuses to acknowledge reality for some reason, and he starts going on about it's 1,000 acres. She's got a screening room. There are worse places to be stuck for a weekend. And
Cap's like a cage is a cage.
A cage is a cage, and how do you not see every slippery slope you've ever been on because you've been sliding for 20 years, Tony?
This is the first step of Cap's fears of the Accords coming true.
Yeah, and it's immediate. That's the problem. It's immediate. Yeah. He's known about the Accords for 24 hours, and already they've
taken the first step to the darker path. Yeah,
and so that's where, like you were saying, the part of his argument that sways me isn't that only the Avengers have the authority to run the Avengers, but that we don't know if we turn that authority over to outside forces. We don't know what their agenda.
We can't say what's going to happen
in 5 or 10 years, and we'll be beholden to that.
Yeah.
And so this scene, I flipped back because
Tony took it too far.
Tony took it too far immediately. Yeah. Whatever about something needed to happen. Wanda had to be punished. They were in like I said, they were in a sovereign nation.
Yeah.
With no authority whatsoever, and they got people killed. She probably needs to go to jail. Cap definitely needs to go to jail after what he did in Romania. So they do a good job of making it seem like Cap is great at accepting responsibility, but a lot of the Avengers do need to be punished in some way for what they've done. But having said that, this is not the way, and Cap does recognise that some kind of accord needs to be struck. Yeah, but not this way. Yeah, and it's not that he wouldn't negotiate with Tony. Cap's fears had been realised so quickly. Yeah, had it been a gradual change, had it been Wanda's free at the moment, but she's on bail. She needs to go on trial, and you need to go on trial, and there needs to be due process, because that's, like William Hurt says, compromise and reassurance. That's what the world is built on. That's the only reason why international relations works, because every nation is separate from every other nation, and they need to. It's same as the way the reason the social contract works. The only reason nobody kills anybody is because nobody kills anybody, right? And that's where, if you really it's unfortunate, because I really love Cap as a character, but if you
take that step out,
if you step back and just look at this in the wider perspective and from the point of view of a normal, the Avengers are very dangerous.
Oh yeah,
something needs to be
done.
They
need the oversight. That's why I fall down. I look at it as me looking at it. Yeah. Where I'm yes, they need this oversight. They're crazy. But that's where we leave them at after that argument scene. So Cap
storms out.
Cap sort of storms out. But before we get to that argument scene, I want to go back to Peggy's funeral.
Yes, of course.
Because we get the only other person from the Avengers besides Sam to stay
Natasha.
There is Black Widow, Natasha, and that her being there for Cap this time really that part of the scene hit home most for me. Just I didn't want you to be alone right now.
And he doesn't get it. He thinks maybe she's here on some kind of Sokovia reason, or she's got
he's
she's got business here.
Why are you even here? And she's because I'm your friend.
And I didn't want you to be alone. And that's the kind of the second piece of the puzzle that made me it jumped me back to that scene earlier when they were all arguing, and she said, "Let's keep a hand on the wheel, and it's more important that we stay together." Yeah. He's like her big brother. Yeah. He really is like her big brother, and she's genuinely it's weird because of everything we know about Black Widow so far. She's this kind of detached Russian assassin. She just doesn't have an emotional connection to anybody. But she really has an emotional connection to Cap, and it's kind of something the Russo brothers created out of thin air, because it's only in Russo brothers movies, because it disappeared then, except for that one scene where she kind of winged her in Age of Ultron. It kind of disappeared from the rest of the movies, but here it is again in full force, because this is one of 3 scenes they have together where she sides against him, offers him support, sides with him, essentially.
Yeah.
And their relationship is kind of the core of the movie for me. Like, I find the whole him and Sharon thing very weird.
it is strange. It feels weird, like out of the blue almost. It's just kind of strange.
And he even says, like, she's like, that was, and he says late. Like, oh, I'm sorry, was everybody expecting that to happen? Like, upon realizing she was the grand niece of your lost love, you just got super horny. Like,
I think because back in Winter Soldier, before everything kicked off, he was going to ask her out. And the whole whole build up of the start of Winter Soldier was, what about this girl? What about this girl? What about Sharon in accounting or whatever? Yeah. And then eventually he like goes to ask her out, but she's on mission. Yeah. So she has to keep him at a distance, but not too far.
Yeah, she skillfully rebuts him.
Yeah, but still keeps him like a little like right in that sweet spot of like teasing almost,
which is even weirder.
Yeah, but like so he
had a crush on her. No, I get that he had a crush on her, but I don't understand how. It's just the way he says like this was an inevitability. Like, really, it wasn't an inevitability from my mind. In fact, I thought, especially because he, after the funeral, he doesn't like go and talk to her. He goes and talks to Natasha. Yeah. Right? He goes.
Well, Natasha comes and talks to him.
Well, but like the point is, he stays in the church then, and she leaves. Like, they don't have a scene together after the funeral, which to me said, like, in my mind, I was like, okay, so he's kind of written her off as a potential love interest. Like,
that's probably what would cross my mind as well. I'd be like, oh, this is now weird.
Because every subsequent scene is very businesslike, you know, where they
not every.
Okay, the elevator scene.
There's the elevator scene,
but I don't know. She becomes more of an ally than a love interest. Until she becomes a love interest. Until suddenly, when she meets him with all this gear or whatever, they kiss. Yeah. But like the scene, so the elevator scene was a bit loaded. But then
because he like walks her back to her room. I guess, is that after the funeral?
It's yes, but it's like So the funeral ends. Nat comes and meets him. Then she goes to the Sokovia Accord signing. Then the Sokovia Accord signing gets bombed, and it gets bombed while he's walking her to the elevator. Yeah. And then just as the elevator doors open, to get the news that's what happened. Yeah. And then she sort of disappears for a while, comes back and is like, this is where Bucky is, you've got like 10 minutes head start. Yeah. Which, I don't know, I think she would have made more sense as just an ally going forward, because that scene where she comes back and she's just like, I'm in the CIA now, here's how I can be of help to you, that makes more sense to me than he just went from one Carter to another. Like, I don't know. I just find it weird. Anyway, that's completely an unnecessary digression. They. Oh God, what was I going to say?
Is it gone?
I think so.
Okay. Well, we get to the introduction of T'Challa.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we first meet him at the Accords before everything blows up. We get. T'Challa is standing there looking out the window, looking pensive, and he hears Romanov's name being mentioned in the background. He goes over and introduces themselves, and they have some witty banter back and forth. And we get T'Chaka there as well, sort of like establishment of their relationship and how he's the king, and this is like his son, the prince. Mm-hmm. And it is really good at establishing their relationship and making you feel for them.
Yeah, very, very quickly.
Yeah, like it's like 2 minutes, and you're like, I'm really enamored with these people, and then
one of them's dead.
Yeah, one of them's dead, and you're like, oh God.
Yeah, no, it's you get so much from such a quick exchange that doesn't even feel like it's giving you any information, but like they're having an argument over diplomacy and how T'Challa believes the two men alone in a room can get more done than 100. And T'Chaka points out that unless you need to move a piano. Yeah. And then they have a conversation in Wakandan where you come to understand that basically T'Chaka is a diplomat. You know, he's a king, he's a politician, whereas T'Challa hates this. You know, this isn't the life he wants, but this is the life he's going to end up with someday. Yeah. He was assuming 20 years from now,
not this
but actually
day.
It's today. But that they're close, very close.
Yeah, they have a good relationship.
That comes to an end.
A brutal end.
A brutal end. when a bomb goes off and destroys... A bomb goes off like a mile away and destroys the... It's like down on the street and over there.
Yeah, it's down across the street, yeah.
And, just like blows up the room that they're in.
Yeah. Killing a lot of people.
Killing a lot of people, but not Black Widow or T'Challa, who was mid-air at the time the bomb went off.
Yeah.
But whatevs.
He does have the Black Panther serum stuff in him.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
He's the prince, not the king. The king gets the Black Panther
The
serum.
king isn't the Black Panther. Which is said in this film.
But he's...
He says something about there's two mantles in his country, the king and the Black Panther, the warrior and the diplomat. Now I'm both. I was the warrior, now I'm both.
Wasn't T'Chaka the Black Panther while he was king?
He was, but I guess he passed the mantle of Black Panther already on to T'Challa.
Oh, okay. I guess it's a young man's game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was already the Black Panther.
But he would have still had the heart-shaped whatever herb in him, wouldn't he? Like he wouldn't just like we established. That's life. That's for life. That shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. But like he was a lot older. Maybe it works, but its efficacy fades over time.
Maybe.
But either way, T'Challa survives. Or
sorry,
maybe...
but yeah, what I was trying to establish before, I've remembered during that conversation, is that after the funeral, so we got bogged down in figuring out what the timeline was, and then we started talking about Sharon Carter and how weird that was. But was that after the funeral, after he finds out who she is and hears her speech, he doesn't go and talk to her or have a scene with her. He has a scene with Black Widow, and then afterwards they kind of have this, like, she's very worried about him all the time, and they feel close, whereas he has this very kind of CIA informant relationship with Sharon Carter, and then he kisses Sharon Carter. I don't know, I felt like that was very strange. Hopefully that will naturally, I can edit that so it'll naturally be an addendum to the original point. But so we get introduced to T'Challa, and T'Chaka gets killed immediately, and then T'Challa gets a scene with Black Widow. There are so many color-coded names here, but only like 3 colors.
It's because black is cool.
Where we both kind of just went like, Chadwick Boseman is an incredible actor. Yeah. Like, it's because there's not much here, He basically just says he establishes some of the mythology of Wakanda in that his father's not dead. Like, there's death is not the end. Off point. Yeah, he's gone on to a different plane, which we actually in Black Panther we find out about the plane where they all, or maybe like you said, it's all just in his mind. Fever dream. But either way, he establishes that, and then he gives a kind of, he dramatically puts on his father's ring, the kind of king ring, and basically says like, I'm gonna kill him. I'll take care of him. You know, like, and she cautions reason, and she's like, but she knows she's not getting through to him, and you kind of like we said, like, Chadwick Boseman is such a great actor that even though we met this guy 5 minutes ago and met his father 4 minutes ago, and now his father's dead, and there's so much else going on in this movie, and so much drama has already happened, that even though, despite all of that, Chadwick Boseman made me in this scene go, yeah, you fucking go kill Bucky. Fuck Bucky. Yeah. Like, I'm behind you. Like, that's a crazy thing to have happen. Especially if you're going into this film blind, not knowing that he's the Black Panther. Yeah. Where it's just the crown prince of some isolationist country is like, I'm gonna kill this person. Yeah. It's kind of a strange thing. You're like, whoa, what's going on here? Because a minute ago we were at the UN, and now this king of some African nation has decided he's going to have a blood feud with Bucky Barnes. Like, and then we get the sort of Agent 13 CIA stuff, and we get the he's looking at me now phone call. So Cap calls Widow, and Widow is great at her job, and immediately clocks that Cap is in the same vicinity she is. Like, basically she hears a police siren, and then in her phone hears a police siren going off in Cap's, like, where Cap is, and recognises it's the same police car, like Cap is nearby. And it just occurred to me in watching the scene that this is far from the first time in a Marvel movie where there's been a phone call between two characters where one of the characters was actually looking at the other character and they didn't know it. And it just made me wonder, like, does every Avenger kind of every time they get a phone call, have a quick kind of glance, like, is he
or
looking at me right now?
Maybe they developed a sixth sense for this kind of thing because this happens so much. It's like, no, he's not here now. Oh, he's here now.
He's here now. But yeah, it must be a frustrating, if not anxiety-ridden job to have.
Yeah, she's also, once she clocks that he's there, she doesn't let on that she knows he's there. She says, "Stay home," to him, trying doing her spy thing where she's got some information,
double
but
speak.
Yeah, she's not letting him know that she knows it now. Stay home, otherwise it could end badly for you, or something similar.
Yeah, or you'll just make things a hell of a lot worse, and then call.
Or I'll have to come and arrest you, or something like that.
Well, no, he asks, "Are you going to?"
Oh, are you going to arrest me?
Yeah, and she says something like, "There will be consequences." Yeah, and then there's like a kind of protracted action chase scene, which is, I mean, it's awesome.
It's okay. Well, first there's one point that I want to bring up because it's called back later at the end, which I thought was really nice. The bombing goes off, and they release this image of Bucky to try and get and find him.
Yeah.
And Bucky's out shopping, picking up some plums in the market in
Bucharest.
Yeah, in Bucharest, and he starts to clock that. Like,
there's a guy looking at him. And he's like, okay, something's going on, because he's paranoid, he has to be. And he goes over and looks at the paper and he sees his face. And as he gets this realization, the sound, like the ambient sounds of the scene, drop out. And this like musical cue builds up, so that's all you're hearing. And it's like this, like, just intense noise. Yeah.
And then it cuts out of that scene. And then at the end of the film, when Tony is watching the video, the exact same thing happens.
Yeah,
the ambient sounds drop out and the exact same music builds up and builds up.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pick scrape on a guitar or something. It's it's kind of jarring, dissonant noise.
Yeah, just this incessant noise.
It makes it kind of it's sort of, if you were to kind of amplify it by 100, I'd imagine that's sort of what it sounds like when Buffy's in the Bucky is in the brain scrambler machine.
Yeah,
that's his noise. That's his trigger noise. Whenever he hears that noise, he knows bad things are about to happen.
Yeah. And it was just a really, like, when I noticed it this time on the Bucky scene, I was like, that's a really, really good way of building up the tension of this scene.
Yeah.
And then when they called back to it later, it's like, oh my, it's perfect.
Yeah, it reminded me of The Dark Knight when at the start, the Joker's big elaborate heist thing, and you hear this. There's almost no music, like they're sort of just scraping on cellos for the first minute and a half, and that's sort of the signal that the Joker's coming.
Yeah.
And then every subsequent time when the Joker's nearby or the Joker's about to enter a scene, there's this scraping sound, and it builds up into a cello sound, and then the song plays. But yeah, it's just a sort of a pre-announcement of violence to ensue.
Yeah.
And then violence fucking ensues with a vengeance.
Yeah, Cap tries to reason with Bucky.
Cap comes in and is like, they're coming for you. Like let's not mince words. They're coming for you, and I need to know that you know me, like that you understand enough about what's going on that I can bring you in.
Yeah. Because
they're going to shoot to kill, and Bucky's like, yeah, it's a good strategy.
Yeah.
Like, and
that's what I do.
Yeah, and he's kind of immediately he's analysing the situation tactically. Like, I know
he's positioning himself in the room and everything.
I know my building is surrounded. I know what my outs are, and Cap can see it, and he's like, Bucky,
don't.
I need to take you in. But it's already too late. Like, Cap sort of kind of wastes a lot of time because he's got Falcon in his ear telling him they're outside the building, they're on the roof, they're everywhere, and he's like taking his time. I understand Bucky's nervous and he doesn't want to trigger him, but Cap runs out of time, and it's on nobody but himself, and they have to fight their way out. And Bucky is not trying to kill anybody, but not trying not to kill anybody either.
Yeah, he did. Cap does make the point. He's like, "What are you doing? You're going to get someone killed." And Bucky's like, "No, I'm not going to kill anyone."
Yeah,
but he's going to get out of there.
Yeah, and so he, without killing anyone, punches through a wall, smashes the guy's fucking head in, grabs the thing that they use to break down doors,
the battering ram,
and starts smacking guys with it. Breaks the fucking railing off of a staircase and just jumps down and uses that as his.
This action scene is so visceral.
It's like the Raid in reverse because they're fighting their way down.
Yeah. So I remember the first time I watched this. I think one of the Daredevil seasons had come out. Maybe Daredevil season 2 had come out at this point, where they had the stairwell fight scene, and I was like, "Is this them being like, well, stairwell fight scenes are in?" But they have this sort of like long, protracted fight scene down the stairwell where they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Bucky's not like Bucky could easily have just killed everyone.
Yeah,
but he doesn't.
Yeah, he never even picks up a gun. Like he's trying to fight his way out.
Yeah, and then Cap is sort of like picking up the pieces on the way down after him.
Yeah, as he'll toss a guy off the stairs, and Cap will catch him and like strap him to something, and then like, come on, man. But Bucky's basically fighting his way down to, like, you think he's fighting his way out of the building, but what he's doing is fighting his way down a few levels so that he can
make the jump.
So he can break into an apartment and just run out the window and make it to the building opposite.
Yeah, because he's already thrown his bug out bag out there.
And then Black Panther shows up.
Out of nowhere, Black Panther.
Yeah, surprise Black Panther.
Yeah, initially the shadow like goes over Bucky and I'm like, oh, it's Falcon.
Yeah.
But no, it's Black Panther.
And they have a fight for a while and it's not going well for Bucky, but luckily he's got backup on its way.
Yeah.
And we get this kind of... Then it turns into a three-way chase where Black Panther's chasing Bucky and Captain America's chasing Black Panther, but like...
And they're all being chased by a helicopter.
They're all being chased by a helicopter, and that's being chased by Falcon. And, like, it's funny and all, and they do like really cool stuff, like jumping, like one of them, Bucky's jumping down a building while Black Panther's just clawing his way down the outside of it.
Yeah.
And it, as silly as it looked, I did like that they were outpacing cars on a motorway.
It looked so silly.
It looked so silly.
Oh, it was so out of place.
But then they kind of, I don't know, if it was a bit dumb. So basically, all Cap wants to do is help Bucky get away.
He wants to make sure Bucky doesn't die.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he's trying to take Bucky in.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he is trying to take him in. Okay, so
but he wants to take him in without him being killed.
So he's trying to keep Bucky alive, but so for about a minute and a half in this fight, he's got Black Panther hanging off the back of the car that he stole from some agents, and he's still chasing Bucky. Like, he's accelerating towards Bucky, and I'm like, I don't...
Just stop.
You know? Because I know that, like, the Bucharest police are also trying to kill Bucky.
Yeah, so they've got a shoot on sight order. This is like the counter-terrorism.
But they have a much lower chance of killing him than this new guy does.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If I'm Cap, I would probably remove him from the fight. And so you could say, though, that Cap wants to keep Bucky in sight because he knows if he lets him out of sight, Bucky he's gone. He'll ghost. But then... So when Cap does catch up with Bucky and they manage to kick Black Panther back and Black Panther grabs onto Falcon, who has joined the chase now, Falcon could just stop, right?
Yeah, Falcon definitely should have stopped.
Falcon could just... Because then what happens is Bucky, who still feels like everybody's chasing him, tosses a grenade, blows up the freeway overpass, and everybody kind of goes barreling through this wreckage.
Yeah, Cap just sort of steps out of a tumbling car.
Oh, no, he sprints out.
And then outpaces it as it's tumbling behind him.
No, he steps out of it before it tumbles. So basically, a big rock falls in front of the car. Cap opens the door and runs, and then the car hits the rock and starts tumbling after Cap.
Yeah,
it's very silly. Like the kind of the pace. Like if you're going to have them outpacing cars, maybe don't shoot it from the side so they look like they're like running along a travelator.
Yeah, it looked very, very strange. They needed to be, I guess, because they were very upright when they're running, but they're moving very quickly. I guess they need to be leaning forward more, something
like how people run.
Yeah.
And it was very strange, but it essentially was just a big, long, protracted chase sequence that it did my least favorite thing. Where at the start of this, when they were chasing Bucky, everybody's trying to kill him.
Yeah,
all these guards. Anytime anybody has a shot on them, they take the shot. You know,
the helicopter is like constantly shooting at them.
Yeah, and like Cap has to use the shield, and Bucky uses his arm to block bullets. Like they're being attacked. But as soon as the three of them end up in this little island in the middle of the motorway, and then like.
Everybody pulls in
and everybody draws guns, and then War Machine shows up, but suddenly nobody's shooting at anybody.
Yeah.
Which, like, I get... Actually, to be fair, maybe this is an example of what I was saying in Black Panther, even though if you're listening to this, you probably haven't heard our Black Panther podcast yet, but we already did Black Panther. But there was a point I made in Black Panther where he's invulnerable, so whenever he's going up against mooks, they're all like shooting at him, but nobody ever cops like this isn't working. You know, like we empty all these bullets into this guy and it's not working, we're not stopping him, like it's not even slowing him down, so why don't we try something else? This could be an example of like
them realizing it.
Well, like the team in the building radioed back to Bucharest police headquarters going, bullets don't work. It's the Avengers. Let's
call in the other Avengers.
Let's try something else. In fact, this is exactly why the Sokovia Accords exist, like to deal with situations like this.
Also, they were now on a motorway.
Yeah.
Where there's potential civilians. So it could be another reason why they weren't shooting then. Also, in this movie, we do get to see Black Panther just being invulnerable. People are shooting at him, and he's just standing there looking at them.
Like, the guy in the helicopter with a 50 cal is like pouring bullets in him, and he's like, "What?" Yeah, and they get caught.
Yeah, they all get captured,
and they end up in jail, and they should be in jail.
Yeah,
they should all be in jail.
Yeah,
none of them actually go to jail except for Bucky, who has to go to jail.
Oh my god, they put Bucky in this like really impressive looking, scary cage where he's like completely strapped down.
Yeah.
And as soon as he wants to get out of that cage, he's out of that cage.
Just lifts his arm. That's
it
all
was
he ever has to
wholly inadequate. He was like, I'm here because Cap, like Steve, told me to be here.
Yeah.
Like I've been captured. I could break out of here. I could kill everybody and get out of here.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that.
And nobody gives him any credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but in between, so now they all end up back at the... Is this the Bucharest police station?
I guess this. I don't know exactly where this is.
Maybe this is the Joint Terrorism Task Force headquarters or something?
Yeah. Oh, it's
in Germany.
It's in Germany, yeah. I guess it is the Terrorism Task Force headquarters.
So we get one of my favourite Marvel things, which is two things happening at once. So we see Zemo's plan, and we see Zemo interviewing Bucky. But before that, I'm not sure where it actually falls in the movie, but I took a note of it. There's a scene where Zemo gets the book. He's gotten the book from the guy earlier who drowned,
and he's practicing his Russian.
But how is he? He doesn't have a reference. He's reading the Russian from the book and trying to get it right. But how does he know what right is?
He's from Sokovia, which is an Eastern European country, presumably.
Careful.
Former Soviet.
Okay, but
so the languages would be similar enough, I imagine.
I mean, French and Spanish are similar. If you, but a French person trying to speak Spanish, would still have to practice. It's more like I'm absolutely fine with him being able to speak Russian, but he's sitting in the point is he's sitting in a room with the book that I assume doesn't have phonetic spelling. And he's saying the word, and then saying the word slightly different, and then saying it slightly different again. But he doesn't have a reference, you know? There's no feedback. He's just saying it different ways. So how does he know that one is the right way?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's irrelevant. Like, we all understand what the point of the scene is. He's practicing the words. But anyway. So, we get this kind of two things going on scene. Well, actually, three things, because we already did it, but the
second part of
the argument where Cap and Tony are arguing. And while they're arguing, Zemo is interviewing, or is pretending to be the French guy who's interviewing Bucky, and also the perfectly introduced UPS van or whatever. It wouldn't be UPS, but like the FedEx van.
Yeah, the FedEx van.
Like gets blocked off by the convoy carrying Bucky into the Leipzig task force or whatever. And you're like, why are they showing? Well, no. At first you're like, okay, that makes sense. They're just showing us that they're blocking off traffic, and this is important. But then you see him again, and you're like, "Where's this guy going?
Yeah.
Why does this matter?" And then it kind of the pace starts to pick up, and Tony's gone off to have his argument with Hurt, and Cap is in a room with Sharon and is Black Widow.
Cap is in a room with Sam, and Sharon is there as well. Yeah. And outside the room is Black Widow.
Okay.
And Sharon turns on a feed in the room so that Cap
can see
Cap can listen and feed. And outside the room, Black Widow clocks this as well.
Okay.
There's a split-second scene where just after they turn on the thing, it shows Black Widow's face, and she looks back just slightly over her shoulder, and then cuts away again.
Okay. And then we get the reveal that this guy is actually Zemo.
Yeah.
And then Cap and Falcon are talking about or Cap and Falcon and Sharon are all talking about this is a weird because Cap has accepted that Bucky's been framed somehow.
Yeah.
Or at worst he's been triggered by somebody to do this, and he's trying to piece back why would
he's trying to work through the situation.
Yeah. And he comes to the conclusion that the only reason, so basically he thinks somebody must have been after Bucky.
Yeah, someone framed him for it.
And so because they figured the only way to get him to surface was to frame him for something big enough that
the whole world will
his face would be everywhere. And Sharon points out that but that wouldn't guarantee that you could catch him. That would only guarantee that we would catch him. And then we find out what the FedEx guy's box was. It was a fucking EMP that he delivered to, I guess, the kind of main electricity substation in Leipzig, and just knocks out all the fucking power. And then it cuts back to Zemo in the room, and he just stands up and is like, let's talk about Siberia.
Yeah.
And
so this is like, for as crazy as Zemo's plan is, where lots of
I don't think it's crazy at all. I think it's very reasonable, but go on.
Lots of different moving pieces
not very many at all. It's a very, very simple plan. It's a very simple plan, and we'll argue about it at the end, because I'll have to jump through a whole bunch of different things, and we'll get lost to where we are in the movie.
But the point here is that his plan to get him the time to talk to Bucky is to set off this EMP. So he has to know the EMP is at the substation.
Yeah.
And so it all hinges on accurate tracking information from his courier service.
I mean, this movie came out in 2016. Like, courier services are pretty fucking adept at this point, you know? Like, I'm actually surprised he didn't just deliver it by drone. But I'm totally okay with that. And the thing is, Zemo is on a suicide mission. Even if he succeeds, he's gonna kill himself. So if at any point the plan goes wrong, Zemo has accepted that, and he's okay with it. But and then Zemo successfully says all the words, triggers them, and he escapes.
Yeah. Mission report, 16th of whatever.
December 16th, 1991. I've skipped a bit, and so it happens right here, and it was important to me because it informs the reason why I ended up siding with Steve. Even if philosophically I would be behind the Sokovia Accords as a mortal human being, in the scene where Steve and Tony are talking about it, Tony explicitly states that the reason he wants the Sokovia Accords is so that he can be Iron Man and have Pepper.
Yeah.
He says it in no uncertain terms. I was hoping the Sokovia Accords would split the difference so that I could keep my suits and keep Pepper.
Yeah, because this is this sort of like continues on Tony's arc from the Iron Man films, where he
goes through his arc. He
tells you everything that's happened. He's like, I got rid of all my suits, and then, and it never ends.
Yeah,
because I don't want it to end.
Yes,
because I like being Iron Man.
Exactly. So, and still, even though he says it all. He says it all, and he takes responsibility. He admits that he was responsible for Ultron.
Yeah.
He still doesn't see that the Avengers aren't the problem. That he's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's the thing to me as well, is that like Steve isn't the problem. You know, like Hawkeye's not the problem. Black Widow's not the problem. Scarlet Witch.
Even she, I don't think is the problem. She's just undertrained.
Untrained. Yeah. Vision. I don't know if I'd want him on the Avengers,
especially after this film. I'm like, ooh, Vision is a bit iffy, because
whereas Scarlet Witch is untrained, he is inhuman.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'd want him as a defender of humanity.
Yeah.
And then Thor, nobody can tell Thor anything what to do. He's not even human.
Yeah.
So like he chooses when he comes here, and he chooses what he does here, and literally there is no authority you can exert on him.
Yeah.
And then
he laughs at us because we're tiny and petty.
Yeah. And in terms of Hulk, I wouldn't put him on the Avengers either. But
Hulk, out of everyone, Hulk is the missing nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
Like all of the other Avengers have like control over themselves. Hulk could go nuclear at any point.
Sure. And I can't remember what I was. No, I was kidding. I think that the crux of this is that what the UN is saying by mandating the Sokovia Accords is that the Avengers are a liability and need to be under some form of control.
Yeah.
But I think Tony makes the argument for me, especially in this scene, is that he is the liability.
Yeah.
And he needs to be put in check.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hilarious to me that he's the guy who tells everybody that we need to be put in check. It's just him. It's just him. And like, you could argue that the Hulk is kind of a liability too, but Banner's not. And Banner is in control of the Hulk. Yeah. Like, he was tricked by Scarlet Witch, but Scarlet Witch was under orders from Ultron, who created Ultron, and the only other time was when his life was threatened in the helicarrier. So, like, the problem is Banner, assuming he comes back after Thor Ragnarok and lives on Earth again, he's still a human being, he still lives here, and anyone, if their life is threatened, could become very, very dangerous. Yeah. Not as dangerous as the Hulk, and not as dangerous to as many extraneous people as the Hulk, but still, like, he has a right to live and not have people try to kill him, you know? So yeah, it's Tony, and so that's where kind of I started to move back over to the Cap camp, because even though I'm behind the Sokovia Accords in principle, I would have a lot of reservations and probably want a bunch of lawyers to go over it and maybe stipulate that Iron Man's the guy who needs to be in check. Not everybody,
or for them to have an out if they need one, something that gives Cap a peace of mind.
Yeah, but yeah. So sorry, we're in the scene where Bucky is triggered and escapes. Yeah, and I love this because Zemo drops to the ground and it's like, help me!
And Cap sees through him instantly.
Nope. But he gets away. Like, I don't want to get into an argument about like Zemo getting away, because not that we're going to get into an argument, but I don't want to go into too much of it. Like, I think it's very clever and that he triggered him because that's his out, right? Yeah. So he figured there was a decent chance that he would be caught, and I assume the orders he gave to Bucky were tie up all the Avengers for as long as you possibly can, and then he just left the building and took his shirt off, and that's all he needed. Well, his jacket off. Yeah. And then we basically get Chris Evans worked out for 6 months and ate nothing
just for this scene.
Yeah, ate nothing but grilled chicken and broccoli, and
steamed chicken. You can't grill your chicken. You gotta steam it.
Okay, I don't know. Steamed hams, despite the fact that these are obviously grilled. But yeah, like the kind of the now obligatory demonstration of muscle.
Yeah. This whole like action scene is cool because
everybody's
all of our heroes, they're unmasked, as it were. And Tony even has the line, it's like, please tell me you brought a suit, besides this one and a pair of loafers.
I'm an active duty non-combatant.
Yeah.
But Tony does. Tony always comes prepared. He's got that little
the watch glove.
Wrist rocket thing.
Which it's armaments, the weapons from this wrist rocket thing were really interesting to me this time.
It's the sonic weapon from Incredible Hulk.
A sonic weapon, which War Machine has later on as well. He uses it in the airport fight. It's a sonic weapon. It's basically a flashbang.
Yeah,
it's a high-tech flashbang.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then he like grabs Bucky's gun and Bucky fires into it and he's like, oh.
And pulls the slide.
It worked. And he's like, hey, that works. It's cool.
He holds his own a lot better than I thought he would unsuited against Bucky.
Well, I think he kind of, like, Bucky doesn't rate him at the start. And he does it, because he has studied hand to hand with like Happy or whatever, and so he kind of, as soon as Bucky recognizes that Stark actually poses a threat to him, he takes him out immediately. So like Stark tries to like fight him a bit, and it doesn't really go his way, and then he tries to shoot him, and Tony grabs it and then takes the slide off, and Bucky's like, well, fuck you, and just knocks him out, and that's it, he's out of the fight. And then the two, Sharon and Natalie,
I really liked how they
the tag team.
They tag, like they're agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that they know how to fight together. Oh, it was perfect.
It was very.
And Widow comes in like full foot, like she sprints and like sprint knees him in the chest or something.
It's like you were saying. It's something that I never. It never hits me because. It never hits me. Sometimes these things just don't hit you. But the fact that she has a grudge against him, like this is the guy who shot her.
Yeah, she can't wear bikinis because of him.
Yeah,
and we get the one line here. You could have at least remembered me.
You could at least recognize me. Yeah, it is, and it's kind of like as I said, it doesn't really hit me. So every time I've seen that, is always played like for comedy, or I always feel like it's comedy.
Yeah,
but there's another interpretation, is that like she fucking hates this guy in the same way that
like this is the mission she failed because of him,
and Tony later in the movie does the same thing where he's like, do you even remember them? Because all anybody knows, like Bucky's a monster to these people, all anybody knows about him is that every so often he's woken up and he kills a person,
and Cap really likes him,
and he's Cap's oldest bestest friend. But like that's all anybody knows about him. That's the only interaction that anybody's had with him so far. The only side of
him anybody sees.
And so it's interesting. It's like there's so much detail that even though you don't get it, you don't grasp it, or it goes over your head, or it just kind of goes straight through you.
it's still there.
It's still there, and the movie doesn't even require it because the movie goes on regardless, and this is still like
again. This is another breakneck scene where so much is happening.
So much is happening, but like the movie is so enjoyable no matter how much of the detail you get.
Yeah.
You could be right at the surface of this entire movie the entire time, and it is still better than most of the movies that came out that year.
Yeah.
Then fucking T'Challa shows up. Not Black Panther. T'Challa in a fucking jumper just starts like wailing on, and then I don't know. I tried to point it out to you. I don't know if you like. I don't know if you saw it or if you don't think you saw it.
I'm sort of coming around to your argument. It does look kind of like what you're suggesting, which I will let you suggest to our audience here of about 6 people.
So there's a scene. I mean, there's a scene where T'Challa fights Bucky, obviously. Yeah. And at one point in the fight, T'Challa gets Bucky into a lock, or maybe it's vice versa. I can't remember.
Yeah. So I think Bucky like goes to sideswipe him. T'Challa grabs his arm and like goes to like slice down with his hand with the ring on it. Mm-hmm. And sort of the vibranium arm just stops going up.
So there's
and it focuses on like the ring and the hand.
Yeah. So there's a scene where he's got his hand in a lock. Like T'Challa has Bucky's metal arm in a lock, and his other arm, like Bucky has T'Challa's other arm in a lock, and their arms are crossed in such a way that T'Challa's ring is about a foot away from Bucky's arm. And there's a part where they're like the camera focuses on the ring and the arm, and there seems to be something happening, like the arm is jerking in a weird way, and then it cuts to T'Challa, who sees that, like recognizes something.
Yeah, they're
happening.
Both staring at what's going on,
and then they look at each other, and then they kind of knock each other apart. Like T'Challa gets knocked over here, and Bucky gets knocked over here, which makes me think like vibranium has some kind of effect on this arm. I mean, it doesn't matter because the arm gets destroyed at the end of this movie, so it doesn't seem to have any bearing on anything going forward, but it might. Like I don't know what the arm is made of, but maybe anything that's made of that kind of stuff can be affected by vibranium, or maybe just by this specific ring. Maybe it's one of his little sister's toys. I don't know.
It seems like it's like a seed planted there for exactly this sort of thing, exactly this sort of theory crafting about what it could be.
Yeah, so maybe it's nothing, or maybe it was just a seed planted that they didn't know what they were going to do with.
So someone could pick it up later on.
Yeah, and then I guess nobody did, or maybe somebody will. Maybe it'll
we don't
be
know.
Important. I don't know. So basically, everybody tries to stop Bucky and they can't, and then he does that magical thing of he falls off something, and then someone goes to look for him, and he's gone. He's vanished.
Yeah.
And it turns out
doesn't earlier in the film he like a car passes in front of him and disappears as well.
Yeah. And Steve has somehow inferred where he's going, because when he gets knocked onto the ground floor of the building, and then T'Challa goes to find him and he's not there anymore. But Steve has gone from being knocked down an elevator shaft to going straight to the helipad, which was not where he was heading, because he looked like he was heading straight out the front door, or maybe he was just heading to find Avengers and hurt them. Anyway, Steve has somehow divined where Bucky's going
to go,
and the helicopter's taken off, and he pulls it back to the ground. Now, I don't know how helicopters work, but I am pretty sure, like, it's another example of where's the limit on Steve's strength, because in every movie,
keeps getting stronger.
Yeah, in every movie it appears like he just gets stronger. So is that just going to continue forever?
He's not as strong as Spider-Man.
Not yet. But he beats Spider-Man in a fight regardless. It's an incredible scene, and it's also it hit me because this time I was taking notes and paying attention, and I had the Black Widow part in it where she came back to him at the funeral because she didn't want to be alone, and it clicked something in my head that she wants to hold this family together. This is literally Steve trying to hold his family together. Like
he's like the last vestiges of his former life.
It's all he had. It's his only connection to the young man that he was. Which now, like, the more I think about it, like Steve's arc throughout these movies seems to be like he's divesting himself of that man. Like he's shedding that skin, because at the end of Ultron we both made a point, like we both noticed in that movie, that by the end of Ultron he's accepted the fact that he's a man of today, and the man that he was when he went in the ice is gone, is dead. Like he's not that person anymore. So it is kind of weird to me. Like obviously Bucky's his best friend, and
it's your best friend.
Yeah, it's his best friend, and the fact that he got so unbelievably lucky to have been frozen for 70 years, woke up and had his best friend wake up and be about the same age, and so he gets to have this I would probably hold on to that,
and you could see it as Steve has made this progress where he's like, I'm a man of today, I'm letting go of the past, and now I guess maybe he wants to do the same for Bucky, because he sees what Bucky has become because of Bucky's past, and he wants to help him. Yeah. To change like he's changed.
Yeah, because he got lucky, and as established at the start of this movie, Bucky did not.
Bucky has had a terrible time.
A horrible time. And the longer he's alive now, the longer he's awake since his last brain scrambling, the worse it gets.
So, the more he remembers,
the more harrowing it becomes.
And the more fear he has that it'll happen again. Yeah. And it does happen again.
Yeah.
And we get the scene where Cap is trying to pull everything together, and they crash into the water, and the perfect mirror scene to the last Russo film. Cap pulls Bucky out of the water.
Luckily, everybody builds these government structures right now, or builds artificial lakes next to these government structures.
Yeah. How much does that metal arm weigh? Can you swim when you have a metal arm?
I have no idea. How? Yeah, I don't know.
Cap pulls him out. It's a nice...
Cap fucking pulls a helicopter out of the sky. Cap can pull Bucky out of the river.
True.
So, look at what the death of a beloved character can do if you let it. Right? If you let it be. So this is, Peggy Carter, she wasn't the star of Captain America, but she was enough of a star that she got her own show out of it, right? And she is a very popular character, and a great character, a very interesting and compelling character.
Yeah.
And they killed her. They killed her as an old woman for sure. That makes sense.
She lived her life and she died.
She lived her life and she died. But they removed her, right? So they removed her from the. The important part here is that
her death has an impact.
Her death has an impact on Steve. It has an impact on everybody, on the story.
Yeah.
Because. This is gonna. I'm just establishing this here because they had a funeral in this movie, and it was sad. It was really sad.
It was sad.
It was moving. In a movie about a guy with a metal arm being chased by a guy dressed as a panther, there was a funeral for a regular human woman, and I actually felt sad. It hit me, and I felt I felt this intense sympathy for Captain America.
Yeah.
And his name for a man named Captain America, despite as outrageous as the Marvel Cinematic Universe continues to become, you killed a regular human woman, and I felt that when he was crying, I felt tears. I felt it. So that's the power of death, and it's the reason I'm bringing it up is pretty obvious. Later in the movie, they have an opportunity to kill another character, and they don't take it.
Yeah,
and I don't understand why they didn't. It doesn't make any sense to me because they have these side characters who matter. They're friends, they're important, but they're not going anywhere. Their arcs they don't have any kind of progression, they don't have any growth, their characters don't mean anything outside of what they can provide to
the main characters.
And that's Peggy was definitely her own character, and that was a big part of our First Avenger podcast, was that Peggy nothing would have worked out in the first Avenger had they not had Peggy Carter, who was easily the best person at their job throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
It's so good, in fact, that not only did she get her own show, but by the time we got to this movie, in which she was in the last movie for one scene, which is a thoroughly depressing scene, but an important one.
The unrelenting tragedy of Steve Rogers.
And she wasn't even in this one. We just got her funeral, and it was so impactful, and it gave the movie so much more weight.
Yeah.
And because there's a couple, I'm also going to bring up some things from the trailers that were changed in the final cut, that it just felt like for some reason at some point along the line of production or post-production they decided to dial it back,
tweak it, make it a little bit brighter.
Yeah, they were really kind of hitting some heavy emotional beats.
Yeah.
And they decided to just let's take it a few notches down.
Or maybe we're told to take it a few notches down.
We were probably told, yeah. And I wish they didn't, because this is easily one of my favourite Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And it could have been one of my favourite movies.
Yeah.
But for the fact that they didn't commit.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree. If they'd done it, it would have just had so much more gravitas, so much more weight, and it would have been important because we have followed these characters. So even to us, it would matter.
Yeah, I understand that this is a popcorn summer tentpole flick that you're putting out, but I just stop underestimating the audience.
Yeah.
Because I'm the audience, and I would have liked it. Yeah. And maybe I'm not in the majority, but I feel like I am. I feel like, in general, like yes, like going to the movies is something that people do to switch off and kind of escape. But there's no reason why you can't switch off, escape, and have an emotional experience.
Yeah.
And that's what the best movies do. That's why Joss Whedon is so successful, because he knows when to punch you in the stomach.
Yeah.
And stories require that. If you can't keep everything surface level all the time, and especially not if you're going to make 20 of these things over the course of 15 years. It's you gotta commit, guys. You gotta commit. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. And so after this, we get Bucky reveals more. This is where Bucky tells Cap
the Ant-Man scene. So he's trapped. Well, first, I just wanted to point out that so he rescues Bucky, and everybody's kind of against him and thinks like Bucky's unsalvageable. And everybody sees Bucky as a monster, and thinks and Cap is the only person.
Even Sam at this point is like, can we trust him?
Yeah, and he's fished Bucky out of the water, and they've got him trapped in like an industrial vice.
Yeah, like a press, a mechanical press or something.
And Bucky basically says, like, just kill me. Like, just that this isn't.
I'm too dangerous.
I'm too dangerous. Like, all he has to do is speak some words, and I went on a rampage. Like, you cannot stop letting me do this.
I cannot be contained.
Yeah, but Cap won't hear it. Obviously, and Sam just does what Cap does, except slower. So and then we get the Sam knows a guy.
Well, before that, we get like Bucky explains.
Oh, sorry.
Like how he became what he is and what Zemo's after, or what the red herring that you mentioned earlier. The Zemo's after these super
story
soldiers.
Of the super soldiers who can destabilize governments overnight.
Yeah. The 5 of them could take down a country overnight. And then we get to see some of their training, and they demonstrate how dangerous these guys are by them beating Winter Soldier in a fight.
Yeah.
And then Winter Soldier walks the colonel out or the general out.
Well, no, they beat him in a fight and then
go
completely crazy.
Yeah,
they completely lose control of themselves.
Yeah.
So they're even less like. Bucky is only dangerous when triggered. They're dangerous.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So they make a point as like, could this colonel control them? And Bucky said, enough.
Yeah.
Just about enough to do it. And so we get to see more of the tragedy of Bucky's life that he's had to live these on-off years.
We also before so this is kind of the precursor to the airport fight. Before everything kicks off, we get a scene of Zemo at an airport, which isn't this airport, obviously, because this airport is shut down. We get a scene of him at an airport, apparently taking a call or checking a voicemail that he's just received.
Yeah, that's what we're led to believe.
Yeah, we get the impression that it's kind of it's interesting. Like the first time you see the movie, it's easy to remember if you've seen this movie a couple of times, or it's easy to forget if you've seen the movie a couple of times. That up until now we know nothing about Zemo at all.
Yeah,
he's come out of nowhere and he set his sights on the Avengers.
He's the villain, but we don't know his motivations yet.
He has a vaguely Eastern European accent, so you might be able to. And Sokovia is a big part of this movie, so you might be able to make that connection.
Yeah,
but we have no idea what he's up to. And then he gets a call, but it's unbelievably clever because the Russo brothers had him not get a call. I'm sorry, I keep doing that.
Check.
But he gets a voicemail that seems to be a voicemail he's just received.
Yeah.
So the scene is played in such a way that he has just received this voicemail, and it's from his wife, and he has a kid, and he is, as far as they're concerned, he's a totally normal guy.
Yep.
He's just dad, and he's away on a business trip.
Yeah.
And so in our minds, it's difficult to remember how I felt when I saw it the first time, but in my mind, in the first time, I was like, what the fuck? What is this guy? Did he just come here to do that, and now he's going home to his wife, and then he'll just continue on with his life as normal? What's going on here? Weirdest thing ever.
Yeah. And
I just love that. Like, I know it comes back later and you understand, but that's...
Yeah, we do have a hint of what his plan is before we get to the scene, because he's told Captain America, "I want to see empires fall."
And that seems to line up with these guys who can destabilize governments thing.
Exactly.
He was actually being far more poetic.
Yeah. And then we get we gotta build teams.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have a giant airport fight.
We're all gonna pick
Civil
teams.
War.
So since it's Civil War and it's going to take fucking 4 hours to record this anyway, I would like to go through one by one. Who do you think each member of the Avengers? Whose side do you think they should take? Now,
okay.
there's some, not like because there's some that I don't understand why they picked the side that they picked.
Mm-hmm.
So Rhodey and Sam are obvious choices. They're just sidekicks.
Yeah.
They were never going to go with anybody else. Why does Wanda go with Captain America?
Well, she is undecided at the start. We get some scenes between her and Vision where she wants to leave and then find out that she can't. She's under house arrest. We get some really interesting stuff where Vision sort of alludes to the fact that normal people have a natural fear of Wanda because of her powers. They're put off by her.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. And that he's not, because he's a fucking robot with a mind stone in his head. And then I don't know why, I'm not entirely sure of her motivation. Clint says something to her.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to the speech he gives her in Age of Ultron, where he says you can either just give up and go to school and have a normal life, or if you want to be an Avenger, it's time to suit up and take responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he says to her here again, and I think that sort of sways her, and then the fact that Vision completely overpowers Clint, as you would, and then that galvanizes her to make up her mind to go with Clint.
Okay. So, but you see, to me, that's enough to okay, she goes with Clint, but to then go to this airport and attack Iron Man and the rest of them. I know she had a grudge against Iron Man. I assume she's resolved that since she's now living in his house. And it's the problem for me is that her arc in this is she's just done something irresponsible that got a lot of people killed.
Yeah. And
Tony's argument to everybody is that we're behaving irresponsibly and we're getting people killed, and I want to curb that.
Yeah.
But then she sides with the opposition.
Yeah.
So I don't get that. So then, since he's there, Clint's best friend is Black Widow. Black Widow's on Iron Man's side. Clint is not involved. He wasn't in the earlier conversation. He's not even in the movie. He retired.
Yeah, he is the dad of the group.
Sure.
This is how I feel. He's like, guys, what the fuck? I left for literally 5 minutes, and look at what you've done. I've got to walk back in here and fix this mess myself.
Why is fixing this mess siding with Cap?
I don't know, because he knows Cap is right.
Then, I don't understand. Then why doesn't he have a conversation with Black Widow where he's like, what are you doing? What are you on this side for?
Yeah.
Or it seems to me like they wanted to have 6 on each side.
Yeah.
And they
definitely.
Yeah, because
and they had to shoehorn some people in.
Vision, Iron Man and Rhodey completely make sense for that side. And obviously Bucky can only be on Cap's side, and Sam was always going to go with Cap.
Yeah.
But then Black Widow, I feel like, is only on Iron Man's side so that she can betray him and go to Cap's side at a crucial moment, which maybe was her plan all along. But I doubt that seems weak.
It doesn't seem to fit.
And obviously Black Panther is on Iron Man's side because Bucky's on the other side.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man is just, I guess he signs up with Captain America. Look, okay, so actually I have a question about this. So he arrives and he's called up because obviously he has a relationship with Sam, and Sam calls him and he's like, we need your help and you kind of owe us. And then Cap says, if you do this, you'll be an outlaw. And he says, what else is new? No, hang on. We just saw your movie. In fact, it was the one immediately previous to this one, where all you wanted was to get back to your daughter, was to go clean and find a way to have a relationship with your daughter. Now you have made yourself a fucking enemy of the state. You can't go to America. You can't go back into the United States, which is, let me check, where your daughter lives.
Yeah, he gets put in the fucking raft.
Yeah, so, and he doesn't even, Like, there's no emotion. When Tony comes to visit them and they're after the end, he goes, Hank Pym said you can never trust a Stark. That's it. And then he's like, who the hell are you? And he's like, oh man, I thought I was an Avenger. Like, it completely betrays his entire Ant-Man arc.
Yeah. They could have and maybe should have switched Ant-Man and Spider-Man, but it would be hard to get Spider-Man onto Cap's side.
No, it wouldn't.
Hard for someone on Cap's team to go get Spider-Man.
Spider-Man should have been a free agent. So you're right. Ant-Man makes more sense on Iron Man's side because Iron Man's on the side of the law and the people who get to go back to America after this fight.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, first of all, just have the fight in New York. Have the fight at LaGuardia or JFK or whatever, one of those New York airports, and the fight kicks off, everything's exploding, cut to a news report, fighting going on at airport, whatever. Spider-Man sees it and goes, puts on his suit and joins the fight and wears like the stupid kind of
suit.
the jumpers and stuff, and then he doesn't really he's just sort of fighting everybody, just trying to get everybody to stop, you know.
Yeah.
He's webbing up everybody and just trying to help as best he can. And then he could even still have that fight with Captain America where he's like, what are you doing? You're destroying everything. And Cap tries to explain, and then he ends up just having to kind of drop something on him and be like, kid, you need to stay out of this.
Yeah.
And then from that, so during the fight, Iron Man would have clocked him and gotten enough data on him to then later in the movie have that scene where he shows up at his house and goes, You're Spider-Man.
Yeah.
and then recruit him to the Avengers, or recruit him and be like, I liked what you could do, and you've got some crazy cool powers, and I like your webs, but your suit needs some work.
Yeah. And also I don't want you to get arrested by being
the Sokovia Accords. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm gonna look out for you.
Yes, exactly. So and could have been a kind of, even though Iron Man has gone like super hardline fundamentalist on this, really at his heart,
could have brought him back.
Yeah, at his heart, you could have, instead of having the scene with Rhodey at the end, who's dead, you could have had a scene of him with Peter Parker at the end, being like, "You're a young genius. I was a young genius once. It didn't work out great for me, but hopefully it will for you." Because I really liked their relationship in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
It is great,
of the old genius and the young genius, and he's just trying to be a better dad than his dad was.
Yeah.
And I think that would have started off better if the first interaction he had with him hadn't been a hilariously irresponsible application of Spider-Man's power.
Yeah.
Like putting him in a mortal combat. That just seems fucking outrageous. Like that just seems to go fly in the face of everything Tony's been saying in this entire movie, that we need to be put in check. We have to has to be some handle on our powers, or we're no better than the bad guys. You're recruiting a child soldier, you fucking maniac.
He does have some hand wavy your job is to stay as far away as possible and just shoot webs at people. And then when Spider-Man gets hurt, he actually he panics.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're fucking done. Even if you can get up, you're done, because I've realized now that this shit's serious.
Okay, he does panic.
But he does, like you said, he does bring a 16-year-old to a mortal combat.
Yeah, and so I feel like they just wanted 6 people on each side,
and they shoehorned them in,
and they figured out a way to put him in there.
Yeah,
and there were better ways. And I mean, this was already a very dense movie full of a lot of things. It was very long, and it moved at a breakneck pace. And I'm kind of amazed that they were able to keep up that pace, given how much information is contained in the movie. So, and I do really like the movie as it is.
It is a really good movie,
and I do think it works as it is. But like I said, I really like it as an MCU movie, but I could have loved it as just a movie.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of things where, these are the sort of conceits that you just allow Marvel. Yeah. You just let them have them all the time, because all their movies are full of them, so you might as well.
Yeah.
And it weakens it weakens the integrity of the overall plot. And I get that they were trying to make it a more global thing, like that the Avengers have an impact worldwide, and that was clever, and I like that, and had the huge place cards so that you understand in every scene, this is not America, this is not America, this is not America. Like you're having an effect on the rest of the world. Yeah, and it's
important.
Yeah, and it was well done. But I just feel like they missed a lot of opportunities as well. Where they could have had Ant-Man, he would have been the same person. Like he could have changed sides in the fight. You know, like he could have joined Tony and whatnot, because they're ostensibly on the legal side of this. But then Falcon would have clocked him and been like, "You're the shrinking dude, hey!" And then they would have had like a quiet moment hiding behind something where he's like, "No, this is what's actually happening." And then you could have had some drama there where he's like, "Well, I don't want to join your guys' side because my daughter," and all this, like just something to remind us of the fact that this is a father, one of the few fathers in all of these guys, who has
something to lose.
Yeah, this guy has something to lose. Like Clint. Like, why is Clint the only guy who's really fucking angry at Tony in the Clint? Like, Clint has lost his family. Like, I don't think people get out of this floating fortress prison. This doesn't seem like you do like 10 years and go home. Yeah. This is just a prison. They're stuck there forever. They're basically supervillains.
It is the supervillain prison.
Yeah. So I don't understand why, Clint is the angriest I've ever seen him. Like he's livid, at the way that this is played out. And then Scott is just being silly Scott. He's being the Michael Pena in the moment.
Just sitting there drumming on a stool.
Yeah, it doesn't.
He should be angry too.
Yeah, it doesn't ring true for me. And like I said, I really think that it should have been an airport in New York, and that could have been, and Spider-Man, just friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, you're in his neighborhood kind of thing. That would have been, and still have that anime. Although the anime scene, so like, because that actually we skipped it. That actually comes before the fight, even though it shouldn't. But the anime scene, why does Tony know that Aunt May isn't usually hot? Like he keeps calling because Aunt May traditionally in all of the incarnations of the previous is an old woman, but in this one he's called like, your aunt is unusually attractive, as if it's I'm pretty sure it's a meta nod to us.
It is,
like,
definitely.
We know that Marissa Tomei isn't the type of person that usually play Aunt May. She's supposed to be a kindly older woman.
As far as I'm aware, she didn't realise either that Aunt May is usually played by like an old woman.
Oh, okay.
And only found that out later.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, I think it is just a meta nod to us.
In that case, it's really sexist, right? Because they got this literally Academy Award winning actress to be the butt of a joke based on her age, which when it comes to women in cinema is also a joke, a better looks essentially, which that's not. I'm not cool with that,
Well, even if it isn't no, I lost my point. It's completely gone.
You know my pain. Okay, well, you can think about it, and we'll go back to the airport fight. Which, as I was,
before we get to the airport fight, I want to get to the Ant-Man introduction, where they're like, "We got Ant-Man."
I know you too. You're great.
And he's like, if they had like dragged me into that fight for some reason, I'd be like, "Oh my god, you're Captain America!" I can't even stop. Like I'd blather on like he is.
I'm shaking your hand too long.
It's perfect. He's the everyman. He's not like these crazy superheroes. He's just a dude.
Yeah. He's not been in the life the way they have. Like, they have all gotten jaded lightning speed. Yeah. And it's so the thing is that kind of sets the tone for the fight. Like, that could have been a kind of light-hearted moment before a brutal knockdown drag-out fight.
Yeah.
But instead, the entire fight was light-hearted, and there were no stakes at all. The only person who was actively trying to hurt anyone was Black Panther.
Yeah.
And the only person he was trying to hurt was Bucky.
Yeah, well, the stakes weren't about people getting hurt in the fight, even though Rhodey does get hurt. It was about Cap getting away or not. Because they even mention it in the fight that they're like, Wanda's like, you're pulling your punches.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Everybody's pulling their punches. Like,
because they don't want to be fighting each other. They know that like we have to try and stop them, but we can't go ham on them because we don't want to fucking kill him. But we have to delay him long enough so that like we can like tie him up, stop him somehow.
I don't know. It just
because we get the brutal fight at the end.
No, I know, but that's because that to me is the Civil War. This is sort of like an extended sparring match.
Yeah,
and they even like there's a scene where Black Widow and Clint are fighting, and they're it seems kind of brutal. They're doing lots of cool MMA jiu-jitsu kind of stuff, and then at one point they break away and go like, "We're still friends, right?"
And Clint
depends on how hard you hit me.
It's one of those marble quips.
Yeah, and it's just it's nobody's in danger. Like this is the longest fight sequence in any Marvel movie, but nobody's in danger.
Yeah.
At any point.
Yeah.
Except for accidentally at the end.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't think anyone is trying to put anyone else in danger.
But
besides
that means
Black Panther.
But that means we're just watching a bunch of fucking people fuck around for a really long time. And yeah, it's cool and
because it's not about the like fight, it's about Cap trying to get away.
I know you keep saying that, Steve, and I understand that, but what I'm saying is there's no drama in the scene, right? Like Cap getting away. Like the thing is, Vision could at any point stop Cap getting away. Like at one point, him and Bucky are running towards the aircraft hangar or whatever, and he erases the bottom of the
control tower.
Yeah, the control tower, and it falls in front of him, and then Scarlet Witch catches the thing. But where did Vision go after that?
I can't remember exactly the sequence of events, but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot going on in the fight.
But there's a lot of moments where people had genuine opportunities to stop someone and didn't take them, or like did something that they thought would stop them and it didn't work, and then they give up. Like that's my best shot, you know. Like I tried.
Yeah.
And I just. I don't know. It just defined the whole thing for me, and then. Their one opportunity to actually instill some drama. So yeah, like you said, fine. The drama is that they're going to get away, and they do get away, or like Bucky and Cap get away anyway.
Yeah, but they almost don't.
They almost don't because, of course, Tony and War Machine and Vision, like
they can all fly.
Yeah, they can all fly. And so Falcon is trying to, like, for some reason Tony isn't in the chase, and neither is Vision. It's just Falcon, or just Falcon and War Machine. And
no, Tony's there.
Is he behind Falcon?
Tony and War Machine are flying sort of near each other. Falcon is right behind War Machine. Falcon like sends up some missiles to flak War Machine, and then War Machine calms Vision, being like, "Get this guy off my tail."
Okay.
War Machine takes the hit because Falcon gets out of the way of the beam.
Yeah.
And
they both die.
He starts falling, and both Falcon and Tony. Because now someone's gotten actually hurt, someone's actually in danger, both of them are like, oh shit. And both dive to try and save him. And both don't make it.
Okay.
Which at any point, like, if at any point during this fight, if anyone had actually become injured earlier, everyone would have stopped.
Scarlet Witch got injured, that's why Vision was distracted.
Did she get injured? What did she get injured by?
I don't know, something happened.
I think she just got taxed by holding up this building.
Okay.
And he, I don't know, has this weird crush on her.
I don't know. They're both made of the same thing.
Yeah. And she controlled the Mind Stone earlier in the film, which was strange.
Yeah. So Rhodey falls to the ground, and it is terrifying. Like it
is a scary scene.
You see like the inside of the suit with none of the heads up.
Yeah, it does the Iron Man scene where it's just the black, and you just see the light coming into the Vision slits.
And it's like a fucking coffin, and you realise that he's trapped inside. Not only is he falling to the ground, he's falling to the ground inside something that's making him so much heavier that he's going to hit the ground.
And he's spinning out.
And he's spinning. He spins so much. Out. Yeah, like a centrifuge. He spins so much, and he passes out, and like hits the ground. And we've been talking a lot about how Iron Man suits don't really feel heavy anymore, but this fucking felt like a freight train smashing into the ground.
Yeah.
And then, just when there could have been some drama, and just when, like, it would have added so much more to the final fight if not only did Rhodey get killed, but it's kind of still Iron Man's fault. Like, Iron Man's going to it's going to consider Cap responsible for all of this, but it's kind of Iron Man's fault. It was one of Iron Man's team, and Iron Man picked this fight, and like, it's still Iron Man's fault, but he's going to take it out on Cap.
Yeah, I mean, it could have it could have even been more Iron Man's fault if Tony had asked Vision to shoot it down, to shoot down Falcon, and if they committed and killed Rhodey. Yeah,
because, like I said, I like Rhodey. He's a great character. I like I like him as a foil to Tony, being the realist to Tony's dreamer.
Yeah,
and I understand that. You want to keep your options open. You want to have these characters.
It's a huge franchise.
Yeah, and you need.
It's very difficult to kill people.
Yeah, but it just would have been
It would have been huge. It would have been an amazing scene.
It would have been an amazing scene, and it would have added so much to the movie. But also, more than that, by making a fake out of it, by having him like get shot out of the sky a couple of miles up at least, fall to the ground, and then Tony lands, and his suit tells him, "Yeah, there's a heartbeat." Like he's
emergency medical are on the way,
but he'll probably make it. Like you can't do that. You can't have a guy get shot out of the sky, he like passes out, the music changes, it starts getting very scary, and you start realizing, I think Rhodey's going to die in this moment, and then, nah, we're just kidding.
Yeah. What
do you think? We're actually going to kill Rhodey?
Yeah.
It undermines all of the tension and the drama, and also it kind of you're sacrificing some of your credibility here, because we were following along here and we were invested in your story, and then you fucked with us.
Yeah.
Like you...
He survived magically.
Yeah, somehow. Like you set us up for something, and then you rug pulled us.
Makes me wonder if the Russo brothers were actually like, we want to kill Rhodey. We have this, like, he'll die in this scene. And then Disney was like, no, we can't kill him. We have to keep our options open for later. But we can injure him. And this is going to play into, like... There's more, but I'm just going to skip ahead for a second. This is going to play into there's a couple of changes from the trailer and the Civil War trailer and the final cut of this movie that I think... Well, I don't know. It's probably not related to Rhodey whatsoever, but I think... Because obviously, the problem with killing Rhodey is that it would have changed the context of the final scene. And in the final scene, all three of them need to go into that room together. Yeah.
And I understand it would have been hard to have Iron Man voluntarily go into the room with the two of them together.
Yeah.
But there's a scene in the trailer that's also in the movie, but it's played very different in the trailer, where Tony arrives at the Siberian base just the same as he does in the movie. And in the movie, he says, you seem kind of defensive, but it's like a classic Tony Stark quip. In the trailer, there's a bite to it, like, you seem kind of defensive, where he's like, what right do you have to be afraid of me? Look what you've done, Yeah. You're the bad guy. How do you not see that you're the bad guy? And Cap's just looking at him like, Tony...
There's more going on here.
Not only is there more going on, but you are definitely the bad guy. And I understand, and it would have... It plays perfectly into the theme of the whole movie, like, who is the bad guy here, right? Like,
and the different perspectives on the same events.
Yeah, and both of these men are trying to take responsibility for the same events in different ways, and one of them is approaching it from this kind of self-destructive, annihilating, like, he's trying so hard to control everything that he's destroying everything around him.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy who is trying to be responsible and do the right thing, but is also, like, there's a lot of collateral damage there, because sometimes the right thing comes at a cost, and Cap is sort of... His tab is past due,
Yeah.
Because this movie does a great job at making both of them the bad guy. By the end of the final fight, I fully support the idea that both of them have done villainous things here. But I don't want to... and so that's full stop right there. But we'll come back to that after, because I want to actually talk about the fight in order. But yeah, so the stakes in the airport fight, Rhodey doesn't die.
Yeah.
They get away.
Vision, Tony, just snaps at Falcon and repulses him to death, almost. And then, turns on Vision and is like, what happened? And Vision's like, I got distracted, I guess. And he's like...
I didn't know that could happen.
I didn't think that could happen. Neither did I. And this is the start of Vision's introspection.
Yeah.
Where he's very quiet and doesn't really say anything for the rest of the movie and just looks pensive.
I think it's sort of... In the abstract, Vision was able to sort of take the information of here's what we've been doing and what we've been responsible for and the effect that it's had on the world, and he was able to process all that and calculate it out and give them a kind of here's what you should do about it.
Yeah.
This is the first time he's been responsible for something.
Yeah. This is like he's been preaching about the catastrophe to come if we don't do something about it, and then he
causes a catastrophe.
Is the catastrophe.
Yeah.
Like he is the catastrophe. Earlier in the fight, he draws a literal line in the sand and then cuts a building down and then causes this horrible thing to happen.
Which, by the way, had Wanda not caught it, would have come down on the two of them.
Yeah.
They were running under that building at that moment.
Yeah.
So I suppose you could argue that they should have just stopped short. But if you look at the movie, the way it's shot, like Wanda catches it, they just barely make it under, and then she can't hold it anymore, and it drops. So like they probably would have been caught in that collapse anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you're saying.
Yeah. So and then this is sort of the defining moment for Vision. And on this watching the movie, definitely I picked up on it a lot more than previous ones, where it's like, do we trust Vision anymore? He's kind of scary. Yeah, like I would never. I under no circumstances do I think that Vision is a villain or has any nefarious plans. Yeah. I think he literally doesn't understand. He doesn't have the same kind of comprehension. Like walking through the wall instead of the door. Yeah, like he just doesn't get it, and the problem is he doesn't get it, and he is the most powerful being on the earth right now. Yeah, which is dangerous. Yeah. So, yeah, and I like that. It's subtle, and it mightn't even be on purpose, but you can definitely read it. And it could be a case of there was nothing in the script about it, but Paul Bettany brought something to it where you're like, Vision. There's more going on, like because everything he says seems very simple, like very straightforward. Yeah. But there's more going on inside there. He has some good discussion with Wanda, where Wanda is sort of feeling down about herself, and he talks about the Mind Stone. He's like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it controls me, if I control it, and what it can do. But I'm going to try and find that out. And maybe one day, he says the line, maybe one day I'll be able to control it. Yeah. Which is very... That's the full stop line. Yeah, that's a very like sinister, or could be taken as a very, very sinister sounding line from a different character. And it just hit me. It was an interesting way it hit me this time watching it. Was like, this is slightly creepy and strange and unsettling. Unsettling would be the word. Like, depending on how Infinity War plays out, there could be a whole other reading of Vision going all the way back to Ultron. Yes, exactly. Like, depending on what they do with Vision, it could change how we see these scenes in the future. Which is... Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah. We're getting very close. It's... What is it? It's like the 31st of... I mean, is it even... It's probably midnight. Yeah. No, it's still not midnight. So it's the 31st of March right now. So we're seeing Infinity War in 4 weeks. Yeah. Pretty much. That is fucking exciting. So then, but basically the Captain America's faction of the Avengers get arrested and sent to the raft, and Tony gets... So, and this is when kind of the the penultimate part of Zemo's plan comes into effect, which is he reveals himself. He calls in his the room service to his room, which he was doing every day, and they come in and find the dead body of the guy who was supposed to be interviewing Bucky, because and that information gets to Tony, and Tony realizes, like, my reaction to this. So Tony gets this thing where basically the guy who interviewed Bucky wasn't him. Yeah, because at the start of the airport fight scene, Cap is like, no, Tony, this is what's going on. Yeah. He's going to release 5 super soldiers. And we have to stop him. Yeah, and Tony, like, reads this, and he has this kind of reaction like, of course he was, like, of course he's telling me. Like, well, what did you think? Steve Rogers was telling you a lie? Like, when has he ever told a lie in his life? I don't think Tony thought that. I think Tony thinks that Steve believes this, but that he's wrong. Okay. I guess that's what he told Spider-Man. Yeah, but now that he's got, like, he's wrong, but he believes he's right, and that makes him dangerous. And then he gets this information, he's like, well, now, maybe he's not wrong, now I have to go check it out. Even if he's not wrong, he says it, he's way off the reservation. He's done too many villainous things. Yeah. From his perspective, from Tony's perspective, Cap's done too many villainous things already. So I have to go stop him, but I also now have to check this out. And that's sort of where he goes from there to Siberia. Well, so first he goes to the raft, and he goes through... Basically, he just goes to each of the Avengers. He walks by each cell. Yeah. And he's trying to get... He wants someone to tell him where Steve's gone. He manipulates the scene again. Yeah. So they... Like, Clint is immediately antagonistic, and so he realizes he's not going to get anything out of Clint. For some reason, they play Scott Lang the way they play him, which I hate, and it does. It goes against the whole. It undermines his film. Yeah, it undermines his entire arc, and I don't understand. Yeah, he should be as angry as Clint. Yeah, he like play it off for comedy that, like, Iron Man doesn't know who he is, but still have Scott be angry.
Yeah, at being in jail for doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, again, that's the second time in his life he's done the right thing and ended up in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a wasted opportunity for character growth. Like, they literally brought Ant-Man into this movie so he could be Giant Man and rampage around and then put no more thought.
Which, to be fair, during that scene, like, all of Ant-Man's actions in the fight scene were amazing. They were really funny.
Yeah, they were, but they put no more... Like, they didn't put any thought into Scott Lang. They put lots of thought into Ant-Man and what Ant-Man could do.
But nothing
into
the motivations of the actual...
But nothing into the actual... Yeah, into Scott Lang's character's motivation.
Yeah.
And so then he settles on Sam, who's his usual cool self.
Yeah.
But it occurred to me in watching this, like, Tony and Sam have never met.
I assume they've met at the Avengers facility.
You can assume all you want. We've never seen them talk.
Yeah.
And Tony's notoriously withdrawn, distant from everybody.
Yeah.
And also
They do make some allusion to how they haven't really interacted before, like, in this conversation.
Sam, yeah, I know they do, but Sam isn't in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
So the only other, like, basically he helped. What's the name of the most patriotic character?
Captain
He
America.
helped Captain America in The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And then there was a few more movies where he just wasn't part of it.
And then he was in at the end of Age of Ultron.
Yeah, and then he showed
the
up.
Avengers, right?
Yeah, he was part of the new Avengers team, which started the day Tony retired.
Yeah.
So basically, all I'm saying is, like, Sam, with no, like, there's not enough in this scene, as far as I'm concerned, for Sam to trust Tony with Cap's whereabouts.
Yeah, except Tony cuts out the audio and goes, I believe Cap, and he shows him the evidence of the dead doctor.
Yeah, but that could also just be, I mean, that's just a picture of a dead guy. I mean, like, that could also just be Tony lying.
True.
To get what he wants.
It could be.
Which is what he does.
Yeah.
And, like,
well,
this isn't the first...
This is him doing this to manipulate Sam into giving him the location.
Yeah. Like, and that's what Tony's been doing this entire movie, is manipulating people.
That's what he does.
No, but so I just feel like Sam gives Cap up
too easy.
Given the fact, like, Sam and Steve more, like, I would say, well, no, yeah, like, Tony and Rhodey are like buds, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, Sam is sort of Tony's 21st century best friend, you know, like they're and Steve, not Tony, sorry, Sam is Steve, and Steve inspires a certain kind of loyalty in people.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I just find it a bit strange because, like, Tony makes the argument that, like, he's going to need help, but then again, he's Captain America and he's got a guy with a metal arm with him. So how much help could he need? Yeah.
Well, like, at the moment, he does think they're going up against 5 super soldiers.
Yeah. Earlier in the movie, he pulled a fucking helicopter out of the sky. So I'd say he could take on 2, maybe 3 super soldiers.
I don't know.
He's a better super soldier than they are.
Okay,
he's got the same serum plus the Vita rays.
But they're better super soldiers than Winter Soldier.
No, one of them was able to knock him to the ground in a fight. He got straight back up. He wasn't injured.
Yeah.
Like, he was just, the guy outdid him in an exchange of fisticuffs. Like, it's okay, maybe that one guy is stronger than Winter Soldier, but we haven't seen what the others can do. And also, they don't exist in the movie anyway. They're a red herring.
They're non-characters.
So let's just get to it. Everybody gets to Siberia.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I would have liked if Rhodey had died and Iron Man had showed up here with a vengeance. And I would have liked... So, the reason why I was going on about the Sam Wilson scene, I would have liked if Iron Man had gone in there and manipulated him and lied to him on purpose. And maybe, he knew that Cap was telling the truth, but he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, he just went in there and said exactly what Sam wanted to hear just so he could get what he wanted. And also told William Hurt to go fuck himself because William Hurt would want Cap brought in.
Yeah.
Whereas Iron Man wants to go there and just fucking kill the guy. Like, this is too much now.
Yeah.
And so he shows up and he's like, and they're ready. They're like hiding behind the shields. They got like the gun, and he's, or maybe not Cap, but he wants to at least kill Bucky. Like, he wants to kill something, you know. And he has that scene of, like, you look a little defensive, and they kind of come to a detente, a truce, you know, and agree to play this out and then deal with it later. The same as, like, they made the same mistake earlier, like this let's catch Buffy and then, or Buffy, God's sake, Bucky, and then we'll deal with it. But like Marvel, everybody's always making the same mistakes. But yeah, they agree to a truce to just let's go in this room, find what we find, and then
find out what exactly is going on,
and then
we can deal with the fallout.
And then I would argue that at this point, Cap should say, we're going to go in this room, find out what's there to find out, fight whoever we have to fight, and then you can take Bucky to the raft.
Yeah.
And he'd look at Bucky, and Bucky would go, he would just nod. He'd be like, absolutely,
yes, take me to the raft.
That's where I need to be. And so you'd have this sort of shaky but good enough alliance going into the room. They find out there's nothing there. Zemo's epic masterstroke. Zemo, okay, he was in a room with Steve at one point, but Zemo has never actually been in the vicinity of the Avengers this whole time. He's always been somewhere else. Yeah. And yet he feels it was such
almost,
a presence.
Almost a Fifth Element-esque hero and villain never meet.
Yeah.
They could have done it in this film.
I liked that Steve got that moment with him and he got to do that kind of I'm a victim.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of cool. But yeah, like you said, they could still have taken that out and his plan could have just worked and he disappeared from the building and Sam would have went chasing him and not just found the clothes. But yeah, it's like such a great villain because
he's a regular person, and how would a regular person go up against the Avengers? Like he even says, stronger men than him have tried and failed.
And that's because I keep bringing it back to that thing about Black Panther being fucking impervious, which you haven't heard yet because you haven't heard the Black Panther podcast. But it's just something I'm noticing more and more in the Marvel movies. The Avengers are impervious to harm, so why doesn't anybody ever think to do something else? Zemo does. He thinks about. He considers it. I'm sure at one point his plan was, I will figure out where they live and bring a rifle. But then he's like,
shoot him from a mile away or something.
And then he was like, no, I need to be smarter. There's got to be something else I could do.
Yeah. And then his eventual goal is like he says, empires killed from without can rise again, but those killed from within are done.
They're gone for good. So we'll talk about Zemo's plan. Now, as far as I'm concerned, his plan has 2 steps. Find the video, find proof of what happened in 1991.
Yeah.
Show it to Iron Man. That's his whole plan.
Yeah.
Now, there's I've watched endless videos. I don't know if you can tell, but we're big Marvel fans. I've watched loads of videos where a lot of people will either will oscillate between either trying to break down why his plan is a masterstroke and here's all of the incredible things.
Yeah.
And then people who are like, his plan is ludicrously overcomplicated. It makes no sense whatsoever.
I'm very in the it's quite overcomplicated.
So, why?
So he pretends to be Bucky to flush Bucky out of hiding so that these people would capture him. Except they might not have captured him and he could have very easily been killed. And then he wouldn't have been able to get any of the information to get Cap and Iron Man to fight each other. Cap would have been devastated by the loss of Bucky and probably would have separated from... He would have gone the opposite way of the Accords anyway, but the Avengers would still be there. There wouldn't have been this, deep...
Schism.
Yeah, this deep schism that we get from his plan succeeding the way it does. So that's, step 1.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't go right. I already brought up the whole EMP tracking thing, and to have that set off at the right stage. What else needs to go right that I can't remember?
So yeah, the EMP interviewing Bucky and having enough time to get out of there.
Yeah, so Cap has to get to Bucky first so that Bucky doesn't get killed.
In the escape?
No, to capture Bucky in the first place.
In Bucharest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because otherwise, what would have happened is Bucky would have been killed, or more likely Bucky would have just escaped and disappeared. Because he's the Winter Soldier. People would go to try and kill him, but he's the fucking Winter Soldier, so he'd just ghost them and disappear. Zemo has no control over the situation. It doesn't work. So then the middle part where he's interviewing him, so he somehow takes over the role of the doctor that he knows they're going to get to interview him when they capture him, even though he's not sure they're going to capture him. And they know it's going to be this specific doctor who he's then taking the identity of already.
Right, but yeah, okay, keep going.
And then somehow he takes the identity of this person, fakes, I assume, all of his ident cards and everything, which I imagine they check when you're trying to go into this super secure building in Germany, and then gets in there and gets his time alone with Bucky. and then manages to get this information out of him, the videotape, which I guess is a videotape here in Siberia.
Yeah.
Okay, so he gets the location of Siberia out of him, and then goes to Siberia, and then wants everybody to show up at Siberia so that they could fight each other. And so then just Cap and Iron Man show up in Siberia, who are the perfect two people that he needs, or Cap, Iron Man, and Bucky, which are perfect three people that he needs. No one else shows up. Iron Man doesn't take a team of JSOC guys with him or anything when he knows that okay, something else is going on here. Only Iron Man shows up, which is exactly what Zemo needs again. And so that's why it's sort of overcomplicated in my eyes.
Okay. So earlier in the movie, Zemo crashed his car into a guy's car outside of his house, broke in, and then, while the guy was unconscious, broke open his wall, took out a book in which was the information on how to control the Winter Soldier. The Red Ledger and how to control the Winter Soldier. And then asked the guy for the mission report.
Yeah.
And the guy won't give it to him. And he explains to the guy that you can die if you want. I have no reason to kill you, but you're Hydra, so it doesn't really bother me if I have to kill you.
Yeah.
But it would be a lot easier if you would give this information to me, because otherwise I'm going to have to do something a lot more complicated. So, had he been able to convince this guy, now he does give up a little easy, as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't actually torture him instead of just threatening to torture him and then killing him. But had he gotten it from this guy, he would have just gone to Siberia, gotten the video, maybe FedExed it to Tony Stark, and that's all he would need.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's that would have been the end of his plan. That's all he was ever going to do, was just show the video to Tony Stark. And ultimately, he can't do that. And because this is a movie, it needs to be more complicated, and it needs to involve steps so that there's some drama. But from as far as I'm concerned, Winter Soldier was never going to get killed. That was not going to happen. Winter Soldier wouldn't allow himself to get killed.
Yeah, so he would have escaped.
But
and then whatchamacallit doesn't know where he is.
But the Sokovia Accords were being signed. And at the Sokovia Accords, T'Challa makes a point to Black Widow that he's upset that he didn't get a chance to meet Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers couldn't be here. Steve Rogers can't be there because Peggy died. He's in London, so he didn't come with because he's grieving about his dead ex-girlfriend.
Also because he didn't sign the Accords.
But
I guess T'Challa might not know that.
Yeah, but the point is he's in Europe at the time, and there's no reason why Zemo couldn't have known that somehow.
Yeah.
Or Peggy Carter was a very famous person. I'm sure everybody knew she was dead. So he was nearby, and the whole thing of framing Bucky to get the whole world looking for him, a lot of his plan rested on the ability of the Avengers to capture Bucky instead of everyone else, for them to get him. But the fact is, his whole plan exists because of the Avengers and their ability to just flout fucking everything, to flout all international law and do whatever the hell they want and get their result.
Yeah.
Which, in this case, was Cap was always going to save Bucky. Cap has been irrationally always trying to save Bucky this entire time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was kind of a toss-up of would he ever be able to pull this off. But the thing is, in my mind, Zemo, so let's say Bucky gets shot and he's dead, and Zemo's well, I'll try something else. I'll go elsewhere. Hydra's everywhere. They have cells all over the world. I will keep going until I find what I need and I take down the Avengers. Now, he only had to go through 2 steps of his plan this time. He tried that one guy, it didn't work. He tried Bucky, it did work. It paid off. And the whole thing about needing everybody to go to Siberia, he didn't. He needed to get the video. It so happened that Cap was right on his tail, and not because of that, but in tandem with that, he revealed himself, just to make sure that they would know that the guy who was in that room and who they would eventually figure out was Zemo was behind this, and that they would come for him wherever he was. So once he had the video, it didn't matter. He could go anywhere in the world. The Avengers were going to find him because they're the fucking Avengers. Because that's what they do. They flout all fucking international treaty and just go wherever they want, which is his point. And so all he'd have to do is get this video and they would find him. So he didn't need them to come to Siberia. He just needed them.
Iron Man didn't show up.
Okay, then he puts it on the internet, Steve. It's there's an unlimited number of ways that he could have got this information out there. But the point is, his whole plan wasn't this kind of overcomplicated series of nonsense. His plan was to find proof of what Bucky did, and get it into Tony Stark's hands. That's his whole plan.
Yeah.
And yeah, he did all these crazy other things to make that happen, but all he really wanted the whole time was this videotape. That's it.
Yeah, I agree that like it's a simple concept. Just his execution of it, there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong very easily.
I guess so. I mean, like the main thing that I think could have gone wrong was that the Avengers wouldn't be the ones to catch Bucky.
Yeah.
But we're watching an Avengers movie. Like, well, we're watching Captain America movie. We're watching a movie with Avengers in it. So, first of all, this is the MCU, and it's a movie in general.
No, like, as a movie, yeah, it's a movie plan. It's not overly crazily complicated for a movie. But if you were to look at the plan, like try to carry that out, or try to like base your actions on it in the real world, you're like, well, this could go wrong here, could go wrong here, could go wrong here.
I think the only place it could go wrong was in capturing Bucky, and that's the only compromise you have to make, because maybe Bucky could have gotten killed, but in a movie where there's so many people looking out for Bucky's well-being, I really think that like he there's no way he could have been 100% sure. There's no way he could have been 100% sure that having shown Tony Stark the video that Tony Stark would flip out and attack Iron Man or attack Captain America. All he wanted to do was try, you know? And in terms of the rest of it, like the EMP, I'm happy to believe that, like, I assume, let's say the psychologist was going to be given an hour alone with this guy. So somewhere in that hour window, he needed the EMP to go off, and he had his phone with him, and he was waiting for the EMP to go off. That's all. So I'd be willing to give that like an hour's what's the word? Leeway, or like an hour margin of error for the thing to get to where it needs to be. And in terms of impersonating the guy, like, we're watching a fucking Avengers movie where there used to be S.H.I.E.L.D. and everybody impersonated everybody. Like, I'm 100% behind him just faking a bunch of IDs and getting past. Like, it's not S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Avengers, it's just a joint terrorism task force.
Yeah.
Who weren't able to stop a bombing, so...
Yeah, but I imagine, like, if they are hiring a psychologist...
No, but I would imagine that psychologist is a contractor, or he's either on staff, or he's a guy that whenever they need to interview a crazy supervillain, there's like a psychologist they use from some place somewhere.
So they know what he'd look like, because they would have used him before.
Well, yeah.
Or if they hadn't used him before, they probably would have Googled him and found a picture of what he looked like, and it probably wasn't Zemo. Like, as a plot in the movie, I'm okay with it. It doesn't, like, it's fine. It doesn't seem like crazily out of proportion for me. But if I'm looking at the plot and like, or at his plan and specifically going through it piece by piece, I'm like, well, it could fall apart here. It could fall apart here. How did this work? There's a lot of things that happened to fall into place, at least in my perspective, that worked out for him.
I don't think anything happened to fall into place, though. Like, he tried the easy way, it didn't work, so he had to do the hard way with Bucky, which involved impersonating a guy, which, okay, that would be a very difficult thing to do in, like, what is essentially the kind of European CIA or whatever, but this is an ex-intelligence operative, so if anybody could do it, Zemo could do it, so I would give him that. The next part he needed to go off was the
Bucky not to die.
Bucky, well, I'm just accepting the Bucky. Like, either Bucky doesn't die and it works, or Bucky does die and he moves on to Plan C.
But like, Bucky's the last step. He's the last person who knows.
No, he's not. But he's not. I mean, first of all 5 of those guys are still alive in their tubes or whatever.
Which he doesn't know where they are.
Which he doesn't know where they are, but they're alive. Which means some Hydra cell somewhere would probably, in the future, had he not went and shot them all, activated them.
Possibly.
Like, somebody knows about it, because it's Hydra, and Hydra are everywhere, and they've been around for thousands of years, and they're this endemic fucking parasitic organization that just exists everywhere. So he tried the obvious way, which is this guy used to work there. He tried the more difficult way, which is this guy is one of the super soldiers, and had neither of those worked, I imagine he would have just tried another way, because he's on a suicide mission and he's just going to keep going until he gets killed. So you have to accept that Bucky would get caught and not killed, and yes, that is highly unbelievable, but in context of an action movie, that's what makes the most sense, that he would get captured and not killed, because that's the more difficult thing. So he gets captured, he impersonates the guy because he's an intelligence operative, the EMP goes off with a margin of error, he triggers Bucky, gets the information he needs, and then after that he's scot free. Like, he almost gets caught by Captain America, but luckily he's already triggered Bucky, so Bucky helps and like distracts everybody enough that he's able to make an escape, and after that he's gone. Like, he's ghosted. He just disappears from the movie until he needs the Avengers to like see this videotape. And yes, okay, it's convenient that they come to him right in his moment of triumph. But like, had he just gotten the videotape and then gone back to his burned out house in Sokovia or something, they would have found him no matter where he was, and all he wanted to do was get them in a room and press play on a videotape. I'm like, I don't think you have to make too many leaps. The only leap I think you really have to make is that Bucky would get captured and not killed, but this is a Captain America movie and Bucky is Captain America's best friend.
Yeah, well, like, looking at it as a platinum movie, I'm okay with it. Like, it's all of the steps in it are perfectly fine as a platinum movie. There are plenty of movies with much more crazy plots that all work out fine. And like, suspension of disbelief, it's an okay plot. But looking at it as a real world plan, for just like, if this was his only plan, say, like, go here, check for this guy. I don't think he's going to do it, but he'll give me access to the Red Book, and with the Red Book I'll be able to get it out of Winter Soldier. Now I need to get to Winter Soldier, so I got to do step A, bomb the UN, blame it on the Winter Soldier, get everyone looking for the Winter Soldier. Which, yeah, like they even mentioned in the movie,
it's a really good way to...
No, but why did they suddenly plaster his face over everything? Why wouldn't they be like, we're going to keep this under wraps because this is an active investigation, and we're going to investigate it ourselves. We're not going to get everyone to look for him.
Didn't he release that information though?
Did he?
Okay, maybe not. But then again, he could have if he wanted. So.
Yeah. And well, if he leaked it, then they would have the Joint Task Force would have been like, what the fuck? Who leaked this?
Stuff gets leaked all the time. I don't know. Okay, fine. So we'll agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And then I'm right. Yeah, so they all arrive and we have this kind of, you seem a little defensive scene, which could have been better if Rhodey was dead, and then they come to a truce and then they have this incredibly tense, gripping, fucking John Grisham. Everyone's just watching a VHS tape, but Jesus Christ.
The sound drops out again, the musical cue comes back in. Holy crap, it was so tense.
And it's like Tony, who has been on tilt for about 6 years at this point. He's striding around
ever since like Afghanistan.
Yeah, like he's striding around like the guys just said this was to launch U-571 rockets to withstand the launch blast. It's like, I bet I can beat that.
Yeah. And
they're basically just sort of spinning their wheels like, how are we going to get to him? Let's just think about this. And then this video starts playing and he sees it.
Grainy VHS
footage, and he sees it and takes a double take and goes, what is this? Like, and it's so out of character, like it's weird. He's like got this weird anxious edge to his voice.
Yeah, because he knows this road.
I know this road, and Jesus Christ, like I knew what was coming.
Yeah, so did I. But it still caught me off guard this time.
Yeah, like I had put two and two together earlier. I didn't know why. I mean, okay. I guess I didn't expect this to be his plan. I did not see it coming at all. Like, I knew pretty much, like, from the fact that they went on a mission in 1991 and Bucky killed two people in 1990, or well, Bucky like crashed this car and took something from the trunk in 1991.
Yeah.
That was probably their car, and if they didn't die, they were pretty badly injured at least. But it didn't. I don't know. It didn't occur to me that this was his ultimate flourish. Was like at the end he was going to play this tape for everybody.
Yeah.
And then as it kind of went out, and it was like you were seeing you kind of like you saw Iron Man recognize the street, and you already know what the street is, and then you see Bucky recognize this footage and what it means and what's about to happen, and then you see the footage, and it is gruesome. Yep. It is brutal. Like
I forgot that Howard Stark knew Bucky.
Yeah,
I'd forgotten that.
Sergeant Barnes,
and he's like, Sergeant Barnes, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Like, and it's so first of all he knows Bucky and he's seeing him like this is a bizarre happenstance.
Yes, a spectre from my past showed up.
Same age as well, because he's Winter Soldier. And then like, and he has a second of like confusion but also hope, and then he just gets his fucking face caved in.
Yeah.
Like he just, because he hits him with the metal arm and just smash, and it's real, like it's not comic book violence, it's just violence.
Yeah, it's like brutal.
And he's dead. Like he hits him and caves in his skull and he's dead.
And then clinically puts him back in the car, rests his head against to
make it look like he had just and then walks around and chokes out Tony Stark's mom.
Yeah.
Like, And
again, like, dispassionately.
Yeah, he's just like, he's got his hand on her throat and he's looking over the top of the car like,
yeah, he's not even paying attention.
Yeah.
He's like keeping his eye on the environment.
And so, cut back to the room, and obviously, like, Tony immediately he like launches at Bucky.
He takes a step forward and Cap.
No. He goes forward and Cap grabs him and he stops. It's like, in a bar fight, like his friend grabs him, and his first, like, he immediately just turns to Cap and goes, "Did you know?" And all he like, like because the gears are turning in his head. Like, did Cap know? Has Cap been protecting the murderer of my parents this entire time? Not this entire time, but like since he found out, like, has he still been protecting him?
Yeah.
It's kind of, you forget, because Robert Downey Jr. plays Tony Stark with all these like crazy eccentricities and affectations, and these weird tics, and he's always kind of silly and over the top, and RDJ, like, he just does this kind of flamboyant RDJ performance all the time. But then when he wants to, if he feels like it, he can change gear and just do this, like, did you know? And suddenly he's a different man, like he's a completely different person, and he's scary, know. And Tony, like, Iron Man in the entire MCU so far has never been scary, but in that moment he's scary, like, and you suddenly notice the size. Like, I guess it's one of the few days when they would actually, because he's rarely actually in the suit, right? Like, but it was one of the few days when it was Robert Downey Jr. in the Iron Man suit, and you see, like, because Robert Downey Jr. is a very slight guy in normal life, but in the Iron Man suit, it's this huge,
bulks him out,
massive shoulders, like, and he's bigger than them, like, he's a big presence in the room.
He's got the physicality of his presence. He feels dangerous.
Yeah,
right at this point in time.
And did you know? And then
Cap knew.
Yeah. And we don't, like, we were thinking about it afterwards, like, when Cap found out, and it was probably the scene from the end of Ant-Man, the arm in the vice scene.
Yeah, when Bucky is telling him, like, the story of what happened and the super soldiers and where they came from. He was either told explicitly in that scene by Bucky, and we weren't as an audience to keep the mystery going in the movie, or he inferred it from the details that Bucky told him.
Yeah, because he knows when Tony's parents died, and he knows when this mission was, so same as the audience.
That Stark would have at least something to do with, like, super soldier serum.
Exactly. And then it all kicks off, and, like, it all escalates very, very quickly, and it's great, because they all sort of immediately start going at each other in their different ways, and then it just cuts to Zemo, like, looking through the glass and just stepping away. My mission's done.
Again, he just leaves.
I've done it. Like, and he doesn't gloat, he doesn't monologue. He did what he came here to do, and he leaves.
Yeah,
and that's all.
A confident, like, determined villain.
I loved, so the music swells, and it's this same kind of, basically any time Cap is trying to save Bucky, there's this same sting of music that then plays again in the credits, and so that music swells, and then they very quickly destroy the entire room. Like, they very quickly just, like, they start knocking stuff, and Tony's blowing stuff up, and everything's kind of crumbling.
All of the cryogenic tubes and everything are falling
and
over.
all like these huge power stacks and stuff, and everything's just crumbling down, and it's very, like, it's a blatant but very effective metaphor for, like, the crumbling of their friendship. Like, everything is just falling to pieces around them. It reminded me a lot of the overpass scene in Winter Soldier, or the stairwell scene in this movie, except with everybody has superpowers now. So like, it's very, very quick, very visceral. Everyone's trying things and they're failing, or they're it's everybody is, like, pushed at all times.
What I really like is throughout this scene, like, Tony's suit starts off immaculate.
Yeah.
And everything that happens in this scene has an effect. Like, has lasting damage on the suit.
Yeah.
It gets worse and worse and worse as the fight goes on. And so people are no longer pulling their punches. There is serious stakes here.
Yeah.
And it is like, the way they're fighting is visceral. They're no holds barred, basically.
Yeah. So he kind of, like, Winter Soldier, as he always does, tries to escape, and, like,
Cap tells him, get out of here, run.
And Cap is trying to hold him back, but he manages to, like, use his one-use laser to cut Cap off, and he gets, like, he almost gets a shot on them, but Cap gets in the last second, and ultimately they're all kind of fighting to get up.
They're climbing up the silo.
But then they all get like kind of knocked all the way down, and then
so
down into the vent.
Bucky like is at the top, and Iron Man's his suit's malfunctioning now. His targeting systems aren't working. He eyeballs a rocket and fires it up at the silo door, which is huge.
Yeah,
and Bucky's like on the lip, and the door starts coming down. And if Bucky didn't see it, he would have been literally a pancake.
Yeah,
but he gets out of the way just in time. So Iron Man is trying to murder this man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And actually, a point. I don't know where he says it in the fight. I think it might be later, but he says he murdered my mom.
It's a scene. So they all get knocked. So after that, he blows the thing down. The whole thing starts to crumble again, and they all get knocked down to the bottom of the silo, and then through the vent for the exhausts. And they all kind of take a second, like they've all been knocked to the ground. And Steve tries to reason with them, like tries to say, like it wasn't him. He was under Hydra's control.
Yeah.
And Tony's like, I don't care. He killed my mom.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say like he murdered my mom. He says it like a little boy, like I don't care.
Yeah,
he killed my mom.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, so there's another movie where a billionaire vigilante and a superhuman everyman are fighting, and it comes like in the penultimate moment of the fight, there's a mention of someone's mom.
Yeah.
That doesn't go as well as this, you know?
Yeah.
And rather than incite a bunch of hatred from all 6 of our listeners, I'm not going to go into it. But it's a testament to, there's no reason why that can't be an effective motivation for someone as powerful as Iron Man or Captain America. It just got to be played right.
Yeah.
I really feel like it was played right here, because it was, you know, they did their homework. They did their legwork. They established early in the movie. I mean, we already know that Tony's got crazy issues.
Yeah.
But now they established earlier in the movie that he's still holding on to grief from, like, forget about his PTSD from Afghanistan or his recent breakup with Pepper or any of the
New York stuff or anything.
Yeah, any of the trauma that he suffered. This is a guy who has never dealt with any of his trauma, and in fact he admits that in his little VR situation at the start to the MIT students, that like, I never dealt with that grief of my parents, because you never deal with anything, Tony.
Yeah.
and then so he sees this video that we've been seeing this whole time, and we're trying to establish the context for.
Yeah, and we've been getting like little bits of more information.
And it, you know, like a great storyteller, it clicks for Tony at the same moment it clicks for us. I mean, you might have figured it out earlier, but you actually get to see.
Yeah, the pieces were there for you to put it together.
But nothing could prepare you for how vicious Bucky was.
Yeah.
You know, like he's the Winter Soldier. Maybe I would have expected him to just show up and shoot them, but I guess part of it was that he needed to make it look like they just crashed their car.
Yeah. And
so he just, like, very clinically takes them apart like they're not even people.
Yeah. And
this is like their son watching this.
Yeah.
And so then he immediately attacks, you know, like he doesn't even think about it. The guy kills his parents and he attacks, and everything's like falling apart, nothing's working, his suit is getting banged up to shit, and like everything is getting much, much worse. And then they get a moment of reprieve, and what had been up until now, not like his best friend, or even like maybe not even his friend, but like a respected colleague, tries to reason with him.
Sort of a strange father figure, because he's a contemporary of his father,
kind of. Tries to reason with him and like make him see sense. And Tony has a legitimate grievance for once. You know, like, instead of it just being grandstanding, instead of it being ego, instead of it just being Tony trying to atone for his sins in such a way as to make himself look like a fantastic martyr, Tony now actually has a reason to want this man dead. And I can't fault him, to be honest. Like, the guy brutally murdered his parents, and he was under mind control, but like, he's also in this movie demonstrated that he just hurts people. Like, that's all he does. So I don't care, he killed my mom. And it really hit me, because I have a mom, you know, like, everyone's got a mom.
I find it really interesting that Tony said mom, not parents, not dad, not mom and dad. He killed my mom. Previous to this movie,
no mention of
she's never been mentioned. They show her in the flashback scene, and they show that in that scene they establish that Tony and his mom have a better relationship than Tony and his dad.
Yeah.
In the short, minute-long scene.
Yeah. She's the intermediary.
Yeah. And so and then we get to the end of the movie, and it's like, he killed my mom. And even though it's never been alluded to before, it does hit home.
I think because it's never been alluded to before. So, like, he's always played off, like, even in death, he maintained that distance from his dad. He always had a distance from his dad. He always thought of his dad as not really his dad, but as Howard Stark. As that guy. He
Mr. Stark.
Mr. Stark, exactly. And in the same, there's another movie in the MCU, Peter Quill.
Guardians,
exactly.
Yeah.
It hurts so much, he can't even say it.
Yeah.
Right? And finally, so Tony has been holding, same way as Peter Quill, who literally doesn't, like, he has the opportunity to say it to Gamora, and he can't say it. In the same way, in this movie, he's been holding on to that for so long, and
for
probably
20 years,
and probably never would have said anything.
Yeah.
Because that's men. Like, he just never would have said anything, and he finally, somebody actually confronts him with it, like, shows him the murder of his mom.
Yeah.
And suddenly, like, this floodgate's been released, you know, and there's no stopping him now. And he, even when, like we said, like, this guy who is sort of his father figure tries to reason with him, he's like, no, he killed mom, like, he killed my mom. And that's sort of probably the first time we've ever seen Tony truly sincere.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time we've seen the real Tony.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ. and they fight and they fight and they fight, and like
more brutal fight scenes.
Like, and Bucky is like a fucking cornered animal. Like, even though he should be holding back, because this is an opportunity for him to demonstrate to Steve that, like, I can be a human.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Like, he feels really threatened here because Tony's fucking scary, and he's really going all out. He's
the
using
Iron
everything.
Man suit. There's a couple of scenes here where the Iron Man suit is scary.
Yeah,
it's a scary thing to be on the outside of,
because they can't hurt it. Like, I mean, Steve's punching it and shit. It's not doing anything.
Like, even fucking Bucky punches it and it hardly does anything.
And so at one point, Bucky like tries to grab the arc reactor, and he's like digging his fingers in.
Desperate.
Yeah,
like, there's like desperation. He's like, if I can get to this,
I can turn it off.
I can get out of here.
Yeah, like, he's screaming and like trying desperately to dig his fingers in, and then Tony just charges up the chest repulsor and blows his entire arm off.
Yeah.
And
that's Bucky out of the fight.
That's it. That's all he had. And so then it becomes like Steve immediately. So as soon as Bucky gets knocked out, Steve jumps in to get between him and Bucky, and like, he's just fighting. And he's like, Steve can't do any damage, but he can keep him from hurting Bucky by just fighting. And his suit's AI is telling him, like, we can't go hand to hand with this guy. Like, this isn't going to work. And so he takes a second and does the
analyze their fights.
Does the Tony Stark thing of like, analyze his fight style and figure out a way out of this, and then he like finally knocks Cap on his ass.
This is one of the things where the Iron Man suit is scary. It's like, countermeasures deployed, catches the shield, and the head just turns slightly, and you're like, oh shit. And then it's just like punch, repulsor, elbow,
and everything Steve is doing, he's already in the motions of countering it. Like, and gets Steve to the ground, and
he like uppercuts him and then repulsors him in the belly, and then Steve just drops.
Yeah, but of course Steve can do this all day, and Steve, like, he's kind of like getting back up and like trying to shake it off. But I mean, Steve, like, so the Iron Man suit is banjaxed at this point, but Steve is like cut up. He's got bruises everywhere, and this is Steve Rogers. Like, this is super soldier Steve Rogers, so it takes a lot to actually put a lick on him, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like getting back up, and there's a thing in the trailer, and it's kind of it steals a couple of other lines in the movie to make it a longer line, but really all he says here is, he's my friend. And so he's looking up at Tony, and he's between Tony and Bucky, and he's like, he knows he's going to die. I mean, like, he's looking up at Tony.
Yeah, this is like his last chance of trying to reason with them.
Yeah, like, Tony's going to get through him, but he's not going to get out of the way. And so Tony's kind of looking down on him. He's not really saying anything because Tony's beyond reason at this point.
Yeah,
but he's looking up at,
and all you see is the impassive mask of Iron Man.
And he looks up and is like, he's my friend. And in the trailer, there's more context to it. Like, he says,
the line is longer.
You know, I wouldn't do this if I had any other choice, but he's my friend. Which, it's fine. Like, it works without it. But then Tony's response in the trailer, basically it's angry sad. So in the trailer he's sad. It's like, Tony, he's my friend, and Tony's like, so was I.
Yeah.
But in the movie he's like, Tony, he's my friend, so was I. And I understand, I guess, that they want to set them at odds, so like going into the next time we see them together they're going to be not friends. But I think they sacrificed again an opportunity for some pathos here, because that trailer, like, that's what hooked me. That part of the trailer where Tony seems genuinely sad that it's come to this. But in this, it's like he doesn't give a shit, you know?
Yeah. I can understand, in the context of the final cut of the film, why he doesn't give a shit at that moment. Like, he might feel remorse about it later, about their friendship falling apart, but right then, like we just talked about, Bucky killed his mom, which he just found out. So he is angry.
He can be sad and angry, and he can be
but
angry.
He is angry enough to kill a person.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have bought it if he had said it that way.
Yeah,
like, you know. And I mean, in the trailer, it's very clear that he's got Captain America on his knees, beaten to shit. Bucky looks dead behind him. Like it's either way, it looks like Iron Man has got the upper hand in a fight to the death.
Yeah,
and I just feel like the trailer, there was more drama there. There was more emotion. It felt more.
Yeah,
and I prefer the trailer. I mean, it's fine. The movie's fine, and it's an incredible scene. Like, you can't. Oh, it's so good. Like,
it is.
And he, you know, they fight some more, and he does his like catchphrase. I can do this all day.
Yeah, because it's Captain America film.
And then Iron Man is about to kill Cap. So Cap is like, he's beating him back to one of the slits of the exhaust where that lead out to basically a cliff that just drop off into nowhere. And Cap is there standing between one of them, and Tony's standing there, and he's kind of giving Cap like, just stop. And Cap's like, no, I can do this all day.
Yeah, he said, stay down, final warning.
Yeah. And so he's like charging up something, maybe his chest, maybe his hand, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, if he shoots Cap in this moment, as far as I'm concerned, Cap will die. Cap will be knocked out of there.
Yeah.
And okay, it's ice. Cap does pretty well in ice, but he could kill him. And then Bucky grabs his leg and he slips, and then Cap grabs him and sort of tosses him over, and then mounts him and just starts smashing him.
Yeah. So he tosses him up, and Tony's head like catches awkwardly on one of the concrete sides. It looks like he falls roughly on like his head and neck area, and then Cap jumps on him immediately.
Yeah, and he's like smashing away at the helmet trying to get it off of him, and then he picks up his shield and he makes it look, I think he fakes him out on purpose, like he makes it look like he's going to smash him in the head.
Yeah, so he's ripped off his mask at this point, and we see Tony's face, and Tony's face is looking worse than Steve's face right now. And he rings up the shield and Tony covers his face. And
so he takes that opportunity to smash it down into the arc reactor, which essentially deactivates the suit. Yeah. So Tony's kind of trapped, I guess, to an extent. And then he gets up and leaves, and he takes the shield with him, and Tony starts screaming after him like, that's not yours. Yeah. You don't deserve it. My father made that shield. And oh my god, like, it's the greatest fucking line. It's amazing. Because Cap just isn't just turning his back on Tony or the Avengers. He's betraying the memory of the man who made him who he is. Yeah. Like, which means a lot to a man whose whole life is nothing but memory. Like, all he has is his memories. Yeah. And like, the most important people in his life were Tommy Lee Jones, Peggy Carter, Howard Stark, and Bucky Barnes. Yep. And I guess maybe the Howling Commandos. But those, like, especially those three, Peggy Carter, Bucky Barnes, and Howard Stark, they were his people, you know? Howard Stark was the guy, was like his first choice to talk to when he was about to die, when his plane was about to crash. He was like, get Stark, he'll know what to do. Like, this was a man who was important to him, and he has been, throughout this entire movie, protecting his murder. Now, he only found out about the murder halfway through, but still he persisted, and he's basically put himself, like, he's advocating for the murderer of one of his best friends, and putting himself at odds with Tony and the Avengers and all that is fucking sacred. And I just love, because the shield obviously is such a emblematic, it's a symbol of the MCU, And I just love, and the fucking, my father made that shield, because we had, like you said, we had earlier, and he doesn't say parents, he says you killed my mom.
Yeah.
Because they were saving that fucking
dad
bomb for later, when he could be like, my father made that shield. And then, of course, because you don't think about it, the shield is just an object, it's been there forever. But as soon as he says it, you're like, fucking Howard Stark did make that shield. I remember the scene in fucking First Avenger where Howard Stark gave it to Captain America.
Well, he was trying to give him other shields, and Cap was like, I like this one.
Yeah, and he said it was like a prototype or something.
Yeah.
And this is where, like I said, by the end of this movie, I was like, they're both in the wrong. This is where I was like, you know what, Cap is in the wrong. Because, so philosophically, like I said, I can get behind the Sokovia Accords, though, to be honest, I did eventually come down on the side of Captain America, because I don't believe the Avengers, as they were, needed to be reined in. I think Iron Man did. Though I can definitely understand, like, the global community wanting there to be some sort of thing. I really think that came about more as a result of Tony's actions than Cap or anybody else's actions.
Yeah.
But in what he's doing now, outside of this, because this had nothing to do with Sokovia Accords, and that's what I really like about Zemo's plan. Zemo's plan didn't require the airport fight. It didn't require the Sokovia Accords. It didn't require any of the rest of this movie. That was all extraneous detail that didn't. It was incidental. It didn't help or hinder his plan. His plan was besides all of that. Just this part where he made a choice to defend Bucky, the murderer.
Yeah.
I really think he's in the wrong, and especially that he was willing to go so far and starting to sacrifice so much, and like, okay, I guess he does rescue those guys from the raft at the end, but like that he was willing to put so many people in danger to defend this guy who, as of the airport fight, he knew Bucky had killed the Starks, like had killed Tony's parents.
But I guess he doesn't see it as Bucky having done those things.
But honestly, I really do think he should have rocked up to that airport fight and said, Tony, we need to talk in private right now, and to prove I'm serious, here's Bucky, he's in handcuffs, he's going to go with you. He's going to go with you right now. And then I need some of the rest of the team, some of the approved team, to go to Siberia.
Yeah. Even I'll sit out of it. Just go to Siberia.
Just please go to this exact coordinates, because here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because, it's just we're assuming that the Vice scene is where he found out about Tony's parents. That he found out about that, and then went through with what he went through with for the rest of the movie. That makes me like that's the first bad thing I've ever seen Cap do on purpose. Yeah, and I'm not cool with that. Like, and it's I like, obviously I didn't want him to be perfect forever, but it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it's a tough choice to make. Well, sort of, because your best friend who is brainwashed and is not responsible for his actions.
Yes, he is. He should stand trial. And then during that trial, it should be established that he was brainwashed or under duress or was not of sound mind. Yeah. And then his sentence can be adjusted accordingly, but he is still responsible for what he has done.
Maybe.
I'm not saying that I consider him a murderer, that I consider him like guilty of murder. Yeah. But he did kill people, and somebody has to, Bucky should stand trial. He should. So should Cap, so should Scarlet Witch. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that I consider them bad people or that I consider them, murderers or manslaughterers, but regardless of that, regardless of what I think or my opinion of their standing as moral human beings, they should stand trial. Truth, justice, and the American way. The people who died, the people who Bucky killed, the people who Scarlet Witch killed, and the people who got killed because of the poor choices Captain America made deserved justice. Yeah. And so all of those people should stand trial, regardless of their guilt or not. That should be established in a court of law. Yeah. And Captain America had an opportunity earlier in the movie to turn Bucky over. Having discovered what he discovered, he had an opportunity to turn Bucky over and say, yeah, he should stand trial, and we should do this. Whatever about the Sokovia Accords, because like I said, the Sokovia Accords were extraneous to this part. Bucky needs to face up to what he's done. Yeah. And if it's true, and especially if then you can send Iron Man, he can go and find Zemo, he can actually not destroy the whole place, he can catch Zemo and get the video and get the Red Ledger and get all of the proof that they require, including 5 more super soldiers who have the same thing done to them and the device that does the thing to them. brought all of that back, or pictures of all of that back, or proof of all of that back, to support Bucky in his trial. I mean, they put the fucking Punisher on trial in the Daredevil season 2. And I mean, he fucking lost his mind and said, "Yeah, I'm a Punisher, I'll kill everybody." But
he did that on purpose.
Yeah, but the point of that was, regardless of his motivations, and regardless of the kind of the relative altruism of his acts, and regardless of what culpability the people he was killing might have had. I'm talking about Punisher. Culpability the people that he was killing might have had in the death of his own family. We live in a fucking world. There are laws. We're not savages. Like Punisher needed to stand trial, and obviously he needed to stand trial in Daredevil because Daredevil's a lawyer as well.
Yeah.
But I just think that Cap, being who he is, should have known better. And I completely understand that if there was ever going to be a situation that got so out of control that Cap needed to make a bad choice, this was it. And for the sake of the movie, I love it. I love what he did, and I love the choices he made, and I love how it all turned out, because it's an incredible story. It's really compelling. But yeah, I do think in this particular point, Cap was at fault. He was wrong. He did a bad thing. But of course, he owns up immediately and unreservedly, like comprehensively apologizes, like lists everything he did wrong, apologizes with no reservations, and that's fucking Cap for you. in a paper pen letter, of course.
Yeah, we get like sort of a montage of what's going on with everybody. Tony arrives back at the compound, drives up right under the Avengers symbol, and it felt to me like the symbol was mocking him in this shot. It just felt so... I don't know what the word is to describe, but it felt like he was being mocked by the symbol of the Avengers.
Hoisted by his own petard?
Sort of, yeah. But it's by this like grandstanding symbol printed into the side of the building. We get Vision sitting there twirling a chess piece, which for Vision is huge. He's like trying to contemplate what he is, and
metaphorically what part he has to play.
Yeah. And then we get Rhodey coming to terms with him being paralyzed from the waist down,
except for the fact that he's immediately got new legs.
Yeah, he's got this like exosuit that he's trying to wear to get used to walk around, and
they lieutenant and him.
Yeah,
instantaneously.
So he talks to Tony. He's like, after this many combat missions, any one of them could have been my last. Even with what has happened, it sucks, but it still was the right thing to do. He's still like, this sucks, but this was the right thing to do, Tony. We're on the right side.
He has the opposite reaction to Tony to like a traumatic situation, which is that he processes it, deals with it, and moves on.
Yeah, he's a healthy human being who can deal with things, and it's just a nice, quick montage of the outcomes of these events that have happened in this film, which is nice. Yeah. And then we get that letter from Cap to Tony. Tony Stank.
Tony Stank. Never letting that go, by the way. I understand the letter, and that there wasn't going to be an in-between movie, so come the Avengers Infinity War, they were going to need a way to team up again. But I feel like this letter sort of whitewashes a lot of what happened in the movie, because by the end of that fight, especially this time again because I was paying attention, taking notes and stuff, Tony hated Steve. He fucking hated him.
Yeah.
Like he was so...
And
like even... Like he was...
Vicious.
Yeah, he was vicious, and like I said, he was ready to kill him, and then when Steve got the better of him, he was frightened for his life. He actually felt genuine mortal terror because of Steve on top of him. And then when Steve was walking away with the shield,
lashed out.
He was because it wasn't like he wasn't.
It was vindictive. Almost.
Yeah, he wasn't screaming at him. He was throwing things out to hurt him. So he said, "That shield doesn't belong to you," which it doesn't.
Yeah.
You don't deserve it.
Yeah, which
you
was
don't.
One of the big ones.
And then my father made that shield.
Yeah.
Which, like, I know that was more for Tony. Like,
yeah,
that's mine. My father made that, so that belongs to me. But from Steve's perspective, that's a really hurtful thing to say because I was actually a friend of your father. I knew your father better than you did. Let's face it. Like, and he was really vindictive. And again, the same as like where they had the opportunity to kill Rhodey, which would have been such a like, I would have hated it, but it would have been such an amazing gut punch, you know?
Yeah.
Like killing Rachel in Dark Knight, like that kind of, especially because you don't know, you think he's saving Rachel and he's not, like, especially because you don't see it coming. The fight's over, you know, like they're getting away and they think they're going to chase him, you think, no, they're going to activate a retro rockets or whatever and they'll just get away. No, but then Vision fires and suddenly the reason they get away, the reason Steve and Bucky get away is because they all have to stop what they're doing and try and save Rhodey, which they don't. You know, like that would have just added so much more pathos to that final scene. But regardless of that, like I was saying, the final scene has so much fucking pain in it, so much bitterness, so much hatred.
Unbelievable. That
to then have this letter that's a kind of, sorry, I done goofed. If you need me, here's a phone. Like, I didn't read it like as much as whitewashing. I thought it sort of reflected back the Tony reaching out to Cap with an olive branch. This is Cap reaching back out to Tony with an olive branch. Okay.
That's how I read it. It's like, yes, I messed up. This is what happened was terrible. But, you know, if there comes a time when you need help, I'll still be there for you.
From the point of view of the character, I completely understand it. Like, and it's definitely something Cap would do. And it's I don't have any problem with the content of the letter. It's the letter itself. Like, from a pure narrative standpoint, they had this chance to, for once, end a movie with some, what's the word for when you're not sure about things?
Uncertainty?
With some uncertainty. Isn't it funny that I couldn't think of the word for uncertainty because I wasn't? To end one of these movies with some uncertainty, which I feel like would have, you know, and then have like a 2-year gap before Infinity War where we know the fucking world is going to be at stake. And they're going to need everybody they got. And
then having to have one of them go back to the other one. After all of this pain and hurt, without having a way in already.
Or better yet, have one of them not go back. Right? So, like, have Thanos show up and attack wherever, and Cap and his boys show up, and then cut back to, like, Iron Man, who can't go. The Sokovia Accords won't let him.
I mean, that could still very well happen.
Well, okay, yeah, that could still happen. But I guess, so then better, from a dramatic standpoint, better be like, Tony won't go. I won't go. Cap's got this, he's got this, then Cap gets killed. So the maybe the entire Infinity War, Iron Man is just sort of orbiting the war, like orbiting what's happening and maybe dealing with some secondary stuff, but Cap is in there in the thick of the fight.
Active duty non-combatant.
Exactly. And there'd be a bunch of situations where Cap almost gets killed, but then he pulls it out, and Tony would get this information, or somebody would be like, Tony, you gotta help, you gotta send somebody, and he's like, no, let him handle it. And maybe they don't rate Thanos because there's been so much of this shit, they don't even think much of him at the start. And then basically the movie ends with Tony having an opportunity to save Cap and not taking it out of spite, and maybe we will finally get a movie where Tony actually takes responsibility for something and processes something and maybe somehow attunes with reality, even if only for a moment, long enough to realise just how far down this rabbit hole of self-destruction he has gone. Just something. Anyway, and they could still do that, and maybe he burns that letter. Like, we don't know. But I just, in terms of the way it leaves the movie, it ties everything off in a neat bow. Where I feel like this is one of the few movies.
It's a Hollywood ending to a film that didn't necessarily need it.
And I think would have benefited from not having it.
Like, benefited from a couple of other changes as well, but it had to have it's a Marvel movie. You can't be too dark, too depressing.
Which
is the problem with Marvel films.
I'm not a fan of this middle ground, but I'm gonna keep watching them, talking about them. So
man, they're good.
They are so much fun. But I can't even remember the post-credit scenes.
The first one was at the end of the movie, Cap breaks into the raft and breaks everyone out. I assume with the help of T'Challa, because surprise, T'Challa was there the entire time for the ending fight scene. He followed Iron Man. And like, he watched the tape.
No, he didn't. He heard Zemo cop to Vienna. Basically, Steve said, you killed all those innocent people in Vienna just to get to us, and T'Challa hears that and then leaves.
Yeah,
and that's enough.
And so T'Challa goes after Zemo. It's like, I nearly killed an innocent man because of you, or not so innocent.
Yeah.
And then so T'Challa was there, and then T'Challa is the one who helps Bucky and Steve escape from Siberia, and presumably gives Zemo to the Joint Terrorism Task Force.
That's where he ends up.
Yeah, and then so I assume Black Panther or Wakanda in general helped them break into the raft and get everybody out.
I suppose so, but then I wonder what the time frame on that is, because we see T'Challa in Black Panther immediately after the events of Civil War.
That's true. Maybe it was just Cap.
Because I in my head, I basically T'Challa gave, as a kind of make amends, probably gave Cap and Bucky a lift back to somewhere you could live.
Yeah.
And Cap maybe just asked him, could you take Bucky in, because...
Yeah. And they put Bucky... One of the scenes is them putting Bucky on ice until they can figure out how to get to deprogram him, basically. Yeah. Then Cap Black Panther takes place about a week after the bombing in Vienna.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there might have been enough time for them to break everybody out of the raft.
Maybe. I feel like Cap wouldn't have involved him unless T'Challa might have offered.
Yeah.
Cap's resourceful. He would have figured out a way to.
Yeah. And then the second post-credit scene, I can't remember what it is.
Well, let's watch it right now. Let me just click play and then go all the way to the end of this movie here.
Oh, it's a Spider-Man.
It's Spider-Man. So yeah, Spider-Man's got his little wrist thing that he got from Tony Stark that just sort of... It's kind of just... It's basically product placement, because it's just...
a Spider-Man symbol.
Yeah, it's just projects a Spider-Man symbol.
Yeah, it's like the computer program in the spider suit.
Played by Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah, the teaching program.
Yeah.
And Peter's just going through how he got all of these injuries to Aunt May, there's this one guy, he was huge.
Yeah.
There was this guy named Steve, he hit pretty hard.
And she's just okay, tough guy.
And then we get the Spider-Man will return. So,
and we are going to watch Spider-Man next, even though it's not next in release order, because it's got a link to this movie,
we have to double up on that.
And we have to double up because, like we said, Infinity War is almost upon us.
Yeah, and it got pushed back a week early for release.
Okay, so closing thoughts.
It is
Civil War.
A great movie. I really enjoyed it. Civil War is one of the ones I've seen least, because it's so late. So as the Marvel movies had come out, each time a big one would be coming out, I'd rewatch the entire series, like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And so when Civil War was coming out, I rewatched the entire series up to that point, and I don't think I've done it since then until now. Okay. So I've only seen Civil War a couple of times. So going into it this time, again, it is a really, really enjoyable film.
Yeah.
There's just so much in it, and so much emotion for a Marvel film, which is surprising.
Yeah, I feel like they had a lot of opportunities to include even more emotion.
Yeah.
Now I don't know, because I've never made a film, so maybe having that much emotion would have actually tipped the balance.
Maybe there's a limit of emotion.
Well, maybe there's a craft, possibly a film craft.
Yeah,
I don't know,
some sort of art.
Yeah, to this that maybe I don't like.
That escapes us as amateur.
Yeah, so I don't have the capacity to understand the process, but there are some scenes in there that I really do feel like. Even simple things, like I said, the changes from the trailer, where I really feel like it was just the intonation of Robert Downey Jr.'s delivery of a line that was ever so slightly tweaked, that I feel like worked better in the trailer, because I remember being really hooked by it in the trailer, and I feel like
maybe the movie pulled some punches.
That's a good place to end it. So Civil War was an incredible amount of fun, but maybe it would have been nice if it had hit a bit harder.
Yeah. Which is next in the sequence?
In sequence, I think it's Doctor Strange.
Yes, it might be Doctor Strange, or
it's not Guardians, and it's not Thor. Yeah, it's because it's Doctor Strange, Guardians, Thor.
Yeah, so Doctor Strange will be next in sequence. So, I have been Steve.
I have been Danny, and this has been the Saturated Industries Steve will say it.
Saturated Industries podcast, the new longest episode.
This was 3 hours and 36 minutes. We're so sorry.
We warned you.
Bye.